In my past life, I, Qin Yue, was the biggest laughingstock in the entire capital. As the eldest daughter of the general of the state, I depleted 3 generations of family wealth, mobilized 80,000 troops from my clan, and accompanied my fiancé, Xiao Jingyuan, through countless battles to seize the imperial throne. Yet before his imperial throne grew warm, he welcomed his first love, Bai Qingyue, into the palace and crowned her empress, with a single imperial decree. He banished Maius, founding Hiroto the Cold Palace. In the bitter winter of the 12th lunar month, he personally brought me that bowl of poisoned wine, smiling as he said, "Yue, the Shin family's military power has grown too great. It cannot be tolerated. Rest easy now." I clutched his sleeve, watching Bai Qingyue smile sweetly behind him. As the poisoned wine washed down my throat, my insides felt like they were on fire, until my dying breath. I remembered his cold words, "Cannot be tolerated." When I opened my eyes again, the glaring palace lanterns made me dizzy. By my ear, the maid Chun Tao whispered softly, "Lady, the crown prince has arrived. Rise quickly to pay your respects." I snapped back to reality, the lingering burning pain of the poisoned wine still on my fingertips. Yet before me was clearly the Qianlin banquet from 3 years ago, the day I first formally met Xiao Jingyuan, and the beginning of my love for him in my past life. Beneath the carved wooden corridor, Xiao Jingyuan approached in a moon-white brocade robe. His jade-like face bore a perfectly measured, gentle smile utterly identical to the expression he wore when he had poisoned me in my past life. Following behind him was the second prince, Xiao Jinghen, his frame slightly frail, his eyes and brows lowered. He stood silently in the shadows, like an insignificant backdrop. On this very day in my past life, Xiao Jingyuan had publicly shown favor toward me, declaring that I, a daughter of the Shin family with the noble bearing of a military lineage, was a worthy match. His words drew the envy of all present and prompted my father to seal our betrothal on the spot. Who could have imagined that this refined crown prince was, in truth, a venomous snake that could never be tamed? "Miss Shin," Xiao Jingyuan had stepped before me, his hand raised in a slight bow. His tone was gentle. "I have long heard of General Shin's skill in raising his daughter. Seeing you today, I find the reputation well-deserved." All eyes turned to us, some filled with admiration, others with scrutiny, and behind the screen, Bai Qingyue's gaze burned with jealousy. I remember, in my past life, Bai Qingyue had already been watching Xiao Jingyuan from the shadows at this very moment. Only I, foolish as I was, never noticed. Chun Tao tugged at my sleeve again, urging me to return the greeting and accept. But as I stared at Xiao Jingyuan's insincere face, the burning sensation of poisoned wine from my past life surged back. Almost instinctively, I sidestepped him and walked straight to Xiao Jinghen. Everyone froze. Even Xiao Jinghen himself snapped his head up, his eyes wide with shock. Xiao Jingyuan's smile froze for an instant, his tone tinged with an almost imperceptible chill. "Miss Shin, what do you mean by this?" I ignored him, fixing my gaze solely on Xiao Jinghen's eyes. Those eyes held a hint of restraint and sharp intelligence. In my past life, he had refused to vie for the throne with Xiao Jingyuan, only to be framed for treason and see his entire family executed. I drew a deep breath. My voice was quiet, yet clear enough for everyone present to hear. "Second prince, do you wish to be emperor?" The words hung in the air, freezing the room in silence. Even the palace lanterns beneath the corridor seemed to sway, startling a flock of birds from the eaves. Chun Tao knelt with a thud, her voice trembling. "Miss, what nonsense are you spouting?" Xiao Jingyuan's face darkened completely. He stepped forward and seized my wrist with such force it nearly crushed my bones. "Qin Yue, do you know this is a crime punishable by the execution of 9 generations of your family?" His fingertips were icy cold, identical to the sensation when he had gripped my chin and forced poisoned wine down my throat in my past life. Suppressing the hatred welling up inside me, I jerked my wrist violently, drawing on my childhood martial arts training. I shook off his grip and raised an eyebrow at him. "Your Highness, I was merely joking with the second prince." "Why the anger?" "A joke." Xiao Jingyuan gritted his teeth, his gaze sweeping over the guests who had fallen silent as if frozen by fear. Such a joke could disrupt the imperial order. Is this how General Shin taught you? My father taught me that a gentleman's word is as binding as a chariot of 4 horses. But he also taught me that a wise bird chooses its perch. I spoke calmly, my eyes returning to Xiao Jingheng. He still hadn't recovered from his shock. His lips parted slightly, clearly unprepared for such words. I continued. The second prince possesses steady temperament and strategic acumen. Compared to certain individuals whose fame is but empty, he truly seems more suited to be the chosen one for the throne. Have I spoken wrongly? These words were a blatant slap in Xiao Jingyuan's face. Veins throbbed furiously at his temples as he prepared to erupt. But then my father, Qin Yi, emerged from the crowd. Qin Yi, the general of the nation. Still clad in his military uniform, having been rushed back from the frontier to attend this banquet, approached me with a furrowed brow. He first bowed to Xiao Jingyuan. Your Highness, my daughter is young and impetuous. Speaking without restraint, I offer my deepest apologies on her behalf. After speaking, he turned to glare at me, his eyes brimming with reproach. Though he refrained from publicly reprimanding me, I knew that though my father was loyal to the throne, he also shielded his own. He would never allow outsiders to humiliate a daughter of the Shin family. Seeing Shin Yi step forward, Xiao Jingyuan could not escalate the confrontation. After all, the Shin family commanded 80,000 troops at the frontier. His bid for the throne still depended on their support. He forced down his anger. Pulling a strained smile, General Shin overstates the matter. This crown prince understands Yu Wei's words were unintentional. Yet I clearly saw the dark, calculating gleam in his eyes. In my past life, he was always like this, appearing magnanimous on the surface while secretly plotting to dismantle the Shin family's military power. At that moment, Xiao Jingheng, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke. His voice was hoarse yet clear. Your Imperial Highness, the Crown Prince. Miss Shin was indeed joking. There is no need to take it seriously. He paused, his gaze shifting to me with added scrutiny. Yet Miss Shin's jest was rather excessive. I curved my lips slightly, choosing not to respond. Instead, I turned and bowed to Shin Yi. Father, I feel somewhat unwell and wish to return to the manor first. Shin Yi observed me for a moment, likely sensing my unusual state, and nodded. Chun Tao, escort your mistress back. I didn't glance at Xiao Jingyuan or Bai Qingyue's expressions. Nor did I heed the murmurs behind me. I turned and headed straight for the manor gates. Just as I reached the palace entrance, Xiao Jingheng's voice suddenly called out from behind. Miss Shin, please wait. I halted and turned to face him. He hurried to catch up, clutching a jade pendant, the one I'd accidentally dropped when breaking free from Xiao Jingyuan's grasp. It was a keepsake my mother had left me. He extended the pendant, his tone still restrained yet tinged with deeper meaning. Miss Shin, I remember your jest. I took the pendant, my fingertips brushing against his cool, smooth skin. Lifting my gaze to meet his, I said, one word at a time. It was no jest. If the second prince desires it, I can help you. With that, I made no further delay. Turning, I climbed into my family's carriage and called out to the driver. Return to the estate. On the way, stop at the accounts office and withdraw 5,000 taels of silver. Deliver it to the Hunter Manor in the western part of the city. Tell them to gather the items I requested as quickly as possible. The coachman replied, Yes, ma'am. The carriage wheels began to turn slowly. I lifted the curtain for one last glance toward the palace gates. Xiao Jingheng still stood there, a chess piece now in his hand, which he was running his fingers over. I knew it. The first move had been made. The carriage had barely stopped at the general's residence when I saw the steward, Fu Bo, rushing over, his face ashen. Miss, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. His Royal Highness has been waiting for you in the main hall for half an hour. I paused, my fingertips tracing the jade pendant at my waist, the one I'd lost and now recovered, a cold smile playing on my lips. Xiao Jingyuan was indeed impatient. Having just suffered a setback at the Qianlin banquet, he immediately came to confront me. fearing I might cause further trouble and block his path to seizing power through the Shin family's military influence. Understood. I stepped down from the carriage, smoothed the folds in my skirt, and instructed, Chun Tao. Fetch the Frontier Military Supply Ledger from my study and send it to the main hall. Chun Tao froze. Miss, didn't you say that ledger should be locked away? For His Royal Highness the Crown Prince to see. I'll fetch it as you command. I cut her off. My tone unruffled. If he seeks to accuse me, he must have something substantial to weigh. Chun Tao dared not ask further and hurried toward the rear courtyard. Following Uncle Fu toward the main hall, I heard Xiao Jingyuan's angry voice before even entering. General Shin. Consider what your daughter said at today's Qianlin banquet. Does the second prince wish to be emperor? If such words spread, it wouldn't just be Shin Yue facing death, the entire Shin family would be implicated. I pushed open the door, meeting Shin Yi's furrowed brow and Xiao Jingyuan's face, stiff with feigned authority. Seeing me enter, he slammed his hand on the table, making the teacups rattle. Shin Yue, do you know your error? I didn't rush to curtsy. Instead, I walked straight to a chair in the hall, sat down, picked up a teacup from the table, took a sip, and then spoke slowly. Your Highness says I'm in the wrong. I'd like to ask, where exactly did I go wrong? Was it wrong to joke with the second prince? Or was it wrong not to bow and scrape before your Highness like I used to? You. Xiao Jingyuan was rendered speechless by my retort, his fingers pointing at me as his face flushed from crimson to pallid. Shin Yue. Do not forget you are this crown prince's betrothed. By publicly passing messages to the second prince, do you seek to make the entire capital mock this crown prince? Or do you wish the emperor to believe the Shin family intends to switch allegiance to the second prince? The word betrothed sent a wave of nausea through my stomach. In my past life, those 3 words had bound me and the Shin family to serve him, only to end with our entire clan being executed. I set down my teacup, my voice growing colder. Your Highness must be mistaken. This betrothal was merely a passing suggestion made by the late emperor. No betrothal gifts were exchanged, nor were birth charts compared. It holds no weight. Besides, as your Highness witnessed at today's Qianlin banquet, the second prince commands greater popular support than you. Should the Shin family truly seek a new master, they might not choose your Highness. Insolent. Xiao Jingyuan sprang to his feet, the jade sash at his waist straining taut. Shin Yue. Don't presume the Shin family's military power grants you such audacity. This crown prince warns you. Should the Shin family dare collude with the second prince, I shall immediately petition His Majesty to strip General Shin of his military authority. His words had barely left his mouth when Chun Tao entered, carrying the ledger. I took it from her and slammed it down on the table before Xiao Jingyuan. Your Highness, perhaps you should examine this first. Xiao Jingyuan glanced down, his expression shifting instantly. The ledger detailed border garrison supplies. 100,000 sure of grain and fodder. 5,000 sets of armor. And 300 cavalry swords, all marked pending disbursement or pending repair. What do you mean? His voice tightened as he reached to flip through the ledger, but I pressed down on his wrist. Nothing much. I pressed harder with my fingertips, watching the panic flicker in his eyes. I merely wish to remind your Highness that currently 70% of the grain and fodder for the border garrison is transported from Jiangnan by the Shin family. Half the armor worn by our soldiers is forged in the Shin family workshops. If your Highness petitions His Majesty today to strip my father of his military authority, by tomorrow, these provisions and armor will likely cease reaching the frontier. Xiao Jingyuan yanked his hand back, his eyes blazing with shock and fury. Shin Yue, you dare threaten this crown prince? I'm not threatening, I am stating facts. Leaning back in my chair, I slowly swirled my teacup. Your Highness, if you wish to seize the throne, you'll need the border soldiers to back you up, won't you? If those soldiers have no food to eat or armor to wear, who would willingly fight for you? By then, forget about stripping my father of his military authority. I fear even your position as crown prince would be unstable. Shin Yi watched me from the side, his eyes brimming with astonishment, likely hadn't anticipated that his daughter, who always obeyed Xiao Jingyuan without question, would suddenly become so sharp-tongued, daring to use military supplies to pressure the crown prince. But he said nothing. He merely lifted his teacup, took a silent sip, and tacitly approved of my approach. Xiao Jingyuan stared at me for a long moment, his expression gradually softening, though still tinged with reluctance. Yu Wei, this crown prince knows that at today's Qionlin banquet, I was wrong to grip your wrist. But you cannot treat military supplies as a joke. This concerns the very foundation of the state and the reputation of the Shin family. He was playing the emotional card again. Just like in my past life, whenever he wanted the Shin family to do something, he'd soften his stance first, only to turn his back on us once his goal was achieved. I sneered inwardly, though my expression remained neutral. Rising to my feet, I picked up the ledger from the table. Your Highness, if you wish for military supplies to continue uninterrupted, then stop interfering with whom I speak or what jokes I make. After all, the Shin family only recognizes masters who can ensure our family's prosperity and honor. Is that not so? Xiao Jingyuan's fingers turned white as he clenched his fist, but he eventually relaxed them, his tone tinged with concession. Very well. This crown prince will not mention today's events again. But you must promise me. You are forbidden to speak of treasonous matters with the second prince in the future, and you are forbidden from any private contact with him. That depends on whether the second prince is willing to see me. I turned a page of the ledger, pointing to a line. By the way, Your Highness, these 5,000 sets of armor were supposed to be delivered to the border next month, but with the recent heavy rains in Jiangnan, the roads are muddy. I'm afraid there will be a delay of several days. If you require them urgently, perhaps you should petition His Majesty to dispatch men to assist with transport in Jiangnan. How could Xiao Jingyuan dare mention this to His Majesty? He's currently busy portraying himself as compassionate toward the people before the emperor. If he reported delays in military supplies, His Majesty would only see it as incompetence. He gritted his teeth, refusing to respond to my suggestion. Rising abruptly, he declared, this crown prince has other matters to attend to. I must take my leave. As for the military supplies, Miss Shin, you must manage them yourself. He turned and strode toward the door. His steps hurried, as if lingering another second would be unbearable. Watching his retreating figure, I suddenly called out, Your Highness. Xiao Jingyuan halted, turning to face me, his eyes brimming with wariness. I waved the ledger in my hand, my fingertip lightly tracing the words Prince Xiao Jingyuan's military supply train. My voice was low but clear. I forgot to inform Your Highness the men from the hunters' village in the western part of the city will come to the mansion tomorrow to collect the escort documents for the military supplies. Should Your Highness be interested, you may come observe. Xiao Jingyuan's expression darkened instantly. He likely guessed what I was up to. Both men from the hunter's manor were seasoned woodsmen who excelled at navigating back roads. Assigning them to escort the supplies was precisely to bypass the spies he planted along the official routes. He didn't call me out, however. Instead, he gave a cold snort, turned, and strode away. Only after his figure vanished completely at the doorway did Shani set down his teacup and look at me. Wei Wei, what are you trying to accomplish by dealing with those hunters? I handed the ledger to Chun Tao to put away, then stepped before Shen Yi and bowed slightly. Father, Xiao Jingyuan is no good master. Our Shen family cannot repeat the mistakes of the past life. I paused mid-sentence, quickly correcting myself. We can't stake everything on him anymore. The Hunter Manor people can use the back roads for future military supply transport. Every additional route means one more layer of security. Shani stared at me for a long moment before sighing suddenly. You've grown up. You have your own mind now. Father won't ask why you've suddenly changed your ways. But remember this. The Shin family's military power is meant to protect our homeland, not for personal gain. I know, Father. I lifted my head to meet his gaze, my eyes unwavering. But first, I added, we must secure the Shin family. With that, I turned toward the window, pushed it open, and watched the sky darken outside. The hunters from the western estate would arrive tomorrow. 5,000 taels of silver would be enough to grease every joint along the secret paths. As for Xiao Jingyuan, after this ordeal, he wouldn't dare pressure me so lightly again. My hand drifted to the jade pendant at my waist, its smooth warmth meeting my fingertips. Xiao Jingheng said he remembered my jest. It wouldn't be long before he sought me out. Chun Tao approached then, holding a cloak. Miss, it's turning chilly. You shouldn't stand by the window catching the draft. I accepted the cloak, draping it over my shoulders, then instructed Chun Tao. Inform the accounts office to prepare another 2,000 taels of silver. Divide it into 10 small parcels. When the hunters from the village arrive tomorrow, have them take it all to distribute among the hunters guarding the paths. Chun Tao replied, yes, miss, and withdrew, gazing at the night outside the window. A faint smile touched my lips. The second move had been made. The next morning, the hunters arrived punctually to collect the escort documents. I had Fu Bo personally handle the handover and presented the divided silver. The leader's dark face broke into a broad smile. Miss Shen, rest assured, we know the back roads from Jiangnan to the frontier like the back of our hands. We guarantee the supplies and armor will arrive on time. Not a single piece missing. I nodded, watching them right away before turning back into the house. Barely half a cup of tea later, Chun Tao lifted the curtain and entered, her tone tinged with disdain. Miss Bai from the Chancellor's residence has arrived. She says she's bringing you some newly embroidered pieces. Bai Qingyue. My fingertips paused, the turning of the ledger page halting. In my previous life, Bai Qingyue never deigned to visit the general's residence of her own accord. Her sudden appearance now likely meant Xiao Jingyuan had sent her as an envoy. Or perhaps she intended to probe my background herself. Let her in. I closed the ledger, casually placing it on the corner of the table. I smoothed my robe and adopted a relaxed demeanor. Before long, Bai Qingyue entered carrying a lacquered box adorned with gold inlay. She wore a water-green ruchuan, its hem embroidered with delicate magnolias. A pearl hairpin swayed with each step. Her demeanor the very picture of a refined young lady. But I knew well the venomous heart concealed beneath that facade in my past life. It was she who wept before Xiao Jingyuan, accusing me of mistreating her. That led to my 3-month confinement, causing me to miss the crucial moment to deliver military provisions to my father. Sister Yue, Bai Qingyue approached me, smiling as she handed over a lacquered box. I recently acquired a piece of shoe brocade. Knowing you favor simple, elegant patterns, I had the embroiderer's rush a handkerchief for you. Take a look, do you like it? I accepted the box and opened it to find a moon-white silk handkerchief embroidered with twin lotus blossoms. The stitches were indeed fine and dense, yet I noticed the threads at the handkerchief's edge were deliberately left loose as if intentionally flawed. Should I use it daily and the Sti? Qing Frey. Rumors would spread that a Shen family maiden used substandard goods, bringing shame upon our house. Thank you for your thoughtfulness, Sister Qingyue. I closed the lacquer box and set it aside. My tone level. I've been busy managing household affairs lately and likely won't have time to use such an exquisite handkerchief. I'm afraid I'll disappoint your kindness. Bai Qingyue's smile stiffened momentarily before quickly returning to its natural ease. She took my hand and sat down, her fingertips icy cold. Sister, what are you saying? Between us sisters, there's no need to speak of disappointment or kindness. But those words you exchanged with the second prince at the Qionglin banquet the other day, hearing them made me sweat for you. After all, His Highness the Crown Prince is your betrothed. Growing too close to the second prince could tarnish your reputation if word spreads. And it would surely sadden the Crown Prince. Here we gosh here to sow discord. I withdrew my hand, lifted the teacup, and sipped slowly. Sister, you worry too much. The second prince and I merely exchanged a few casual words, nothing nearly as exaggerated as outsiders make it out to be. But sister, you've been meeting with His Highness the Crown Prince quite often lately, haven't you? I heard he even sent you a South Sea pearl hairpin specially a few days ago. It seems no one can compare to the place you hold in His Highness's heart. This struck a nerve with Bai Qingyue. A flicker of smugness crossed her eyes, but she feigned modesty. Sister, don't tease me. The Crown Prince and I are merely ordinary friends. How could I compare to you, who are betrothed to him? By the way, There's a flower viewing banquet in the palace in 3 days. His Majesty has invited all the young ladies. Will you accompany me? It would be good for everyone to see how close you are to the crown prince. Putting an end to those nasty rumors. I sneered inwardly. She intended for me to appear intimate with Xiao Jingyuan at the banquet, severing any chance for me to interact with Xiao Jinghen simultaneously. She'd showcase her deep sisterly bond with me before everyone, highlighting her own grace and elegance. Alas, she miscalculated. Very well, I agreed readily, watching Bai Qingyue's delighted expression before adding. Though I've been feeling rather weak lately, I'm afraid I'll need you to look after me more closely then. Oh, and sister. This magnolia embroidered gown of yours is truly exquisite. You'll surely outshine everyone at the flower viewing banquet. I wonder if it might look even more special with a touch of another color. Bai Qingyue missed the hidden meaning in my words. Mistaking my comment for genuine praise, her smile broadened. Sister flatters me. Together, we'll ensure no one steals our thunder. After exchanging a few more casual remarks, Bai Qingyue saw no signs of my suspicion and rose to take her leave. The moment she left, Chen Tao couldn't hold back. Miss, you clearly know Miss Bai has ulterior motives. Why did you agree to attend the flower banquet with her? If she wants me to go, I'll go. It'll be perfect to show her what it means to shoot herself in the foot. I picked up the lacquer box on the table, unfolded the handkerchief, and pointed to the loose stitching. Look here, she deliberately left this flaw to make me look foolish. Since she relishes scheming, I'll simply go with the flow and let her make a proper fool of herself at the banquet. Chen Tao leaned closer and understood. What do you plan to do, miss? Go to the accounts room and fetch 50 taels of silver. Find the most resourceful servant in the mansion and have him make arrangements with the palace attendants responsible for the tea service at the banquet. I rose and walked to the window, gazing at the paulownia trees outside. At the flower viewing banquet in 3 days, I said, if you see a young lady wearing a water-green magnolia embroidered gown, accidentally spill the rose dew from your hand onto her skirt. Remember, it must be accidental. No one must suspect it was intentional. Chen Tao's eyes lit up. Miss, you want to soil Miss Bai's gown and humiliate her before everyone. Not just that. I turned to look at her. Bai Qingyue cherishes her image above all. If her dress were stained, she'd surely panic and lose her composure. Then someone could accidentally mention that her dress was splashed with rose water, just like that disgraced imperial concubine who was doused with wine last year. Tell me, how do you think His Majesty and the consorts would view her then? Chen Tao's eyes widened in realization. Miss, you're brilliant. That would completely ruin Miss Bai's reputation for grace and refinement. Hurry and make it happen. Don't let anyone catch on. I waved my hand, and Chen Tao hurriedly withdrew. 3 days later, the flower viewing banquet commenced as scheduled. I deliberately arrived a moment late. As soon as I entered the imperial garden, I saw Bai Qingyue chatting and laughing animatedly with several noble young ladies. Xiao Jingyuan stood beside her, his gaze tender. The two of them actually looked quite well matched. Bai Qingyue spotted me and immediately walked over with a smile. Sister Yue, you've finally arrived. I've been waiting for you for ages. I smiled in response. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Sister, there was some traffic on the way. As we spoke, I caught sight of a servant approaching from afar, carrying a tray laden with cups of rose-infused wine. Xiao Jingyuan also drew near, his expression less than pleased. Yu Wei, why are you dressed so plainly today? I wore a light purple ruchuan, devoid of elaborate adornments indeed, far more subdued than Bai Qingyue's water-green gown. I've been feeling unwell lately. Simpler attire is more comfortable. I avoided his gaze, my eyes instead resting on Xiao Jingheng standing alone by the lotus pond. He held a book in his hand, seemingly reading, but in truth, he was observing the surroundings. Our eyes met briefly. He gave a slight nod, a silent greeting. Bai Qingyue witnessed this and immediately tugged my hand toward Xiao Jingyuan. Sister, don't just stand there. Let's go see the peonies over there. His Highness the Crown Prince said this year's blooms are especially splendid. Just then, The attendant carrying the rose-scented wine accidentally slipped, lunging forward as the tray tilted. The liquid splashed directly onto Bai Qingyue's skirt. "Ah!" Bai Qingyue shrieked. Her water-green gown instantly turned pink, the magnolia embroidery blurred by the wetness, leaving her looking utterly disheveled. Surrounding onlookers turned their gaze, murmurs rising in waves. "Isn't that Miss Bai from the Chancellor's residence? How did she end up like this? That rose water staining her dress, it looks just like when Consort Li was splashed with wine last year. What terrible luck." Hearing these words, Bai Qingyue's face instantly drained of color. She clutched her skirt tightly, tears welling in her eyes. Yet she forced herself to hold them back. She still wanted to maintain her gentle and graceful image. Xiao Jingyuan hastily produced a handkerchief to wipe her tears, his voice laced with concern. "Qingyue, are you all right? Have someone take you to the side hall to change your clothes." "Your Highness, my dress," Bai Qingyue choked out, her gaze fixed on me with venomous suspicion, as if accusing me of the deed. I feigned surprise as I stepped forward. "Oh dear, Sister Qingyue, how careless of you." Thankfully it was only rose water. If it had been something else, it would have been far more troublesome. "Chun Tao, quickly escort Miss Bai to the side hall." I recall bringing a spare gown, though not as exquisite as hers. It's far more comfortable than wearing a wet one. This seemingly kind offer served as a subtle reminder to everyone present that Bai Qingyue now stood drenched and disheveled. Bai Qingyue trembled with fury yet dared not refuse. Supported by Chun Tao, she trudged toward the side hall in utter disarray. Watching her retreating figure, a barely perceptible smile touched my lips. Just then, Xiao Jingheng approached and murmured, "Miss Shen, that was a rather decisive move. The second prince flatters me." I replied, "It was merely someone's own carelessness. I had nothing to do with it." I turned my gaze toward the nearby peony bushes. Compared to this, I was far more concerned about whether the border garrison's provisions would arrive on time in 3 days. Xiao Jingheng paused, then understood my meaning. I was reminding him it was time to discuss the specifics of our cooperation. He nodded. "I'll have a letter delivered to the general's residence another day. We'll discuss it in detail then." Just as I was about to speak, Chun Tao rushed back, lowering her voice. "Miss." While changing her clothes, Miss Bai instructed her maid to find out who deliberately spilled the rose essence. "She also said you'll pay the price. Is that so?" I raised an eyebrow, drew a silver hairpin from my sleeve pocket, and handed it to Chun Tao. "Take this to that attendant from earlier. Tell him to leave the capital immediately and seek refuge with the people at the Hunter Manor in Jiangnan. Also, investigate Bai Qingyue's maidservants. Find out what their mistress is planning next." Chun Tao took the silver hairpin, replied yes, mistress, and turned to leave, watching the bustling scene in the imperial garden. I knew this was only the beginning. Bai Qingyue wouldn't let this rest, and Xiao Jingyuan would grow even more wary of me because of this incident. But it didn't matter. I had all the time and methods I needed to lure them step by step into the trap I had set. Just then, the distant call of an eunuch announced the emperor and empress were approaching. I adjusted my skirt hem, preparing to step forward and pay my respects. Only now was the third piece of my chess game truly secured. The day after the flower viewing banquet, Chun Tao brought news. Bai Qingyue's men, sent to track down that attendant, had scoured the entire capital without finding a trace. The servant, having taken the silver hairpin, had long since followed the hunter's estate people to Jiangnan, failing to secure any evidence. Bai Qingyue flew into a rage at the chancellor's residence, smashing several porcelain pieces and vowing to settle the score with the Shen family. I found it rather amusing, idly flipping through the frontier military reports on the table without looking up. She can have her war, but whether I have the time to play along is another matter. By the way, has the letter for General Zhou been sent? It's been dispatched. The most reliable old courier from the mansion delivered it. It won't be intercepted. Chun Tao handed me a cup of hot tea. Miss, why did you suddenly decide to write to General Zhou? That general has been stationed in the northwest for years. Though he has old ties with our Shen family, he's hardly close to us. I took the tea, my fingertips touching the warm rim of the cup, and memories of my past life surfaced. General Zhou was a man my father had personally promoted. He was upright and principled. When the Shin family was executed, he had wanted to lead his troops back to the capital to plead for mercy, but Xiao Jingyuan framed him for colluding with the enemy. And in the end, he died on the battlefield. This time around, I cannot let him meet the same fate. More than that, I must make him a sharp blade in my hand. General Zhou commands 30,000 cavalry in the northwest, a force Xiao Jingyuan has long sought to co-opt but never secured. I blew across the tea foam. Now that Xiao Jingyuan covets the throne, he must first seize control of the border garrisons. General Zhou stands as a thorn in his side. I'll send word to General Zhou beforehand both to grant him a personal favor and to secure a backup plan for our Shin family. Just then, Uncle Fu rushed in, his expression grave. Miss, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has sent his personal guard. He says urgent business requires your presence at the Eastern Palace. He also said that if you refuse to go, he will personally come to the general's residence to invite you. I set down my teacup, a cold gleam flashing in my eyes. Xiao Jingyuan has turned his frustration into anger. Bai Qingyue's humiliation at the flower viewing banquet left him without advantage. Now he seeks to pressure me with the Eastern Palace's authority, likely concerning the military provisions due in 3 days. Understood. I shall go immediately. I rose, changed into a jet black brocade gown, and instructed Chen Tao to bring the military supply ledger with that document in hand. Xiao Jingyuan wouldn't dare harm me. Upon reaching the East Palace gates, I found Lin Su, Xiao Jingyuan's personal guard, standing there, his face dark enough to rain. Miss Shin, His Highness awaits you in his study. You'd be wise to avoid provoking his anger. I ignored him and walked straight inside. In the study of the Eastern Palace, Xiao Jingyuan stood with his hands behind his back by the window, hearing footsteps. He whipped around, his eyes blazing with fury. Qin Yue, do you know your crime? I walked to the desk, sat down, and slammed the ledger onto the table. Your Highness, just state it plainly. Where exactly have I offended? Is it a crime that I didn't shield Miss Bai from the rose spray at the flower banquet? Or is it a crime that I didn't display intimate closeness with you, Your Highness? Stop feigning ignorance with this crown prince. Xiao Jingyuan stepped before me, pointing to a line in the ledger. The 50,000 share of grain and fodder destined for the northwest in 3 days. This crown prince has already dispatched men to take control. From this day forward, all military supplies under the Shin family's purview shall be escorted by the Eastern Palace. You need only manage the Shin family workshops and deliver grain, fodder, and armor on schedule. A cold laugh rose in my chest. So it was about the military provisions after all. He wanted control of the escort duties to strangle the Shin family's lifeline. Once he controlled the supplies, he could skim, intercept, or withhold them at will. When the border soldiers went hungry, the blame would fall squarely on the Shin family. Your Highness seems to have forgotten that this military supply escort privilege was personally granted to the Shin family by His Majesty. I picked up the ledger and flipped to the page bearing the imperial seal. If Your Highness wishes to seize this authority, you must first seek His Majesty's decree. Correct. Without such an edict, my father would never consent, and the soldiers in the northwest would never recognize anyone sent by the Eastern Palace. General Shin has no right to dictate to this crown prince. Xiao Jingyuan snatched the ledger, slamming it onto the table. Qin Yue, don't think the Shin family's military authority gives you the right to oppose this crown prince. Mark my words, I will secure these 50,000 share of grain. If you dare obstruct me, I shall petition His Majesty, accusing the Shin family of deliberately delaying military provisions and harboring treasonous intentions. I had long anticipated his attempt to frame the Shin family. I rose to my feet, observing his flustered state, and spoke deliberately. Your Highness may escort the provisions, if you so desire, but I must warn Your Highness the route from Jiangnan to the northwest has grown treacherous lately. Just days ago, I received word that a band of horse thieves has taken up position at Blackwind Pass, a vital crossing point, specifically targeting military supplies. Your Highness's men would do well to exercise caution. Should the provisions be lost, don't blame the Shin family for failing to warn you. Xiao Jingyuan froze, clearly caught off guard by the mention of bandits. But he quickly recovered. Assuming I was bluffing. Stop spinning lies to deceive this crown prince. Blackwind Pass has garrisons year, and where would bandits come from? Xin Yue. Don't think this will stop me. Believe it or not. Your Highness. I turned toward the door. If His Highness's men truly lose their supplies, don't come seeking answers from the Xin family. After all, the escort authority lies with His Highness. Should anything go wrong, the responsibility rests with him. With that, I left the Eastern Palace without looking back. No sooner had I boarded the carriage than Chun Tao couldn't help asking, "Miss, are those bandits at Blackwind Pass real? I've never heard of them." "They're real. But that band of bandits was sent by General Zhou." I lifted the carriage curtain to look out at the street. I'd already written to General Zhou, instructing him to send men disguised as bandits to wait at Blackwind Pass. Xiao Jingyuan wanted to intercept the Xin family's supplies. I'd make him pay dearly for his miscalculation, losing his own provisions in the process. Chun Tao's eyes lit up. "Miss, you knew the crown prince would seize the convoy rights." I nodded. In my past life, that's exactly what he did: seize the convoy rights. Deliberately let the supplies be raided. Then framed the Xin family for treason to strip my father of his military authority. This time around, I merely returned his own scheme to him, unchanged. 3 days later, news arrived as expected. Xiao Jingyuan's escort for the grain supplies was ambushed by bandits at Blackwind Pass. 50,000 share of grain were completely plundered, and over a dozen guards were killed. Xiao Jingyuan was so enraged he smashed things in the Eastern Palace. He immediately dispatched men to investigate Blackwind Pass. But what could they find? General Zhou's men had already taken the grain northwest to the military camp. That very afternoon, Lin Su returned to the general's residence. Gone was his earlier arrogance. His face pale, he said, "Miss Xin, His Highness requests your presence at the Eastern Palace. There is urgent business to discuss." I knew it. Xiao Jingyuan was out of options. The northwest military camp needed provisions to feed its troops. Having lost the grain, he had no choice but to turn to the Xin family. I changed into simple, elegant attire and went to the East Palace with Chun Tao. In the study, Xiao Jingyuan sat in his chair, looking considerably more haggard. Seeing me enter, he dropped the usual airs of a crown prince, his tone tinged with resignation. "Yu Wei, regarding the Blackwind Pass incident, this crown prince wrongly accused you. Now that the supplies have been hijacked and the northwest camp urgently needs provisions, what do you think? Could the Xin family first dispatch a batch of provisions there?" "Your Highness jests. The Xin family's provisions are all accounted for in the ledgers. But the escort authority rests with your Highness. How could I dare to transport them without permission?" I deliberately feigned ignorance. Besides, the Xin family's provisions were already scarce. If all were sent to the northwest, the soldiers at other border forts would likely go hungry. "You." Xiao Jingyuan clenched his fists in fury. Yet he dared not erupt. "Xin Yue, what exactly do you want?" "I want nothing. I merely request your Highness return the military supply escort authority to the Xin family." I met his gaze, my tone calm. "As long as your Highness issues the order to restore the escort authority, I guarantee fresh provisions will reach the northwest within 3 days. The soldiers' rations will not be delayed." Xiao Jingyuan stared at me for a long moment, knowing I was deliberately playing him. Yet he had no other choice if the military provisions were delayed further. His Majesty would surely hold him accountable. His position as crown prince might even be at stake. Gritting his teeth, he finally nodded. "Very well. This crown prince agrees. I shall issue the order immediately to return the escort rights to the Xin family." I produced the prepared documents and placed them before him. "Your Highness, please sign now to avoid any future recanting." Xiao Jingyuan stared at the document, his face shifting from pale to flushed. Yet he still picked up the brush and signed his name. I tucked away the papers with a satisfied smile. "Your Highness may rest assured. Within 3 days, the provisions will reach the northwest." No sooner had I stepped out of the Eastern Palace than I spotted an unassuming blue cloth carriage parked by the roadside. The curtain lifted slightly, revealing Xiao Jingfeng's profile, Our eyes met. He handed me an envelope. I took it, tucked it into my sleeve pocket without a word, and boarded my own carriage. Back at the general's mansion, I opened the envelope. Inside were a few lines written by Xiao Jingheng. For the matter at Blackwind Pass. My thanks to Miss Shen. 3 days hence, at the hour of the snake. West of the city at the tea house. We shall discuss the details of our cooperation. I burned the envelope, watching the ashes scatter in the wind. Turning to Chun Tao, I ordered, go to the accounts office and fetch 10,000 taels of silver. Also, have the workshop prepare 2,000 sets of new armor. They must be completed within 3 days. Additionally, inform General Zhou that after delivering the provisions to the northwest, he must keep a close watch on Xiao Jingyuan's movements. Should anything occur, send word back immediately. Chun Tao replied, yes, ma'am, and turned to make arrangements. I walked to the window, watching the sky darken outside. A faint smile touched my lips. Xiao Jingyuan had lost the grain supplies and relinquished the escort rights, a significant setback. Xiao Jingheng had proactively sent the letter, putting our collaboration on the agenda. This fourth move unfolded even more smoothly than I'd anticipated. Just then, Fu Bo entered to report. Miss, the Chancellor's residence has sent word. Miss Bai Qingyue requests your presence tomorrow for tea, stating there is urgent business to discuss. I raised an eyebrow. Bai Qingyue seeking me out at this moment could hardly bode well. Still, I was eager to see what new tricks she might pull. I instructed Fu Bo. Tell the Chancellor's men I shall arrive punctually tomorrow. After Fu Bo withdrew, I picked up the military supply ledger from the table, turning to the page detailing Chancellor Bai's holdings. My fingertips lightly traced the entries as new calculations formed in my mind. The next morning, I changed into a light lotus pink ruchuan, taking only Chun Tao with me as I rode in a carriage toward the Chancellor's residence. Before leaving, I specifically instructed Fu Bo to station 2 skilled servants disguised as merchants near the Chancellor's estate. Bai Qingyue had ulterior motives, and I needed to keep my options open. The carriage halted at the mansion's entrance. Wan Chui, Bai Qingyue's personal maid, had been waiting there. Seeing me step down, she offered a forced smile. Miss Shen, my mistress awaits you in the garden pavilion. She specially prepared your favorite Biluakun tea. Following Wan Chui inside, I caught the movement of the mansion out of the corner of my eye. Several unfamiliar guards lurked in the shadows, their eyes fixed on me. Clearly, Bai Qingyue had arranged this. I sneered inwardly, but my expression remained impassive. I asked coolly, your mistress seems to have found the time today. Why the sudden desire to invite me for tea? Wan Chui's eyes flickered. She stammered. The mistress said there was a misunderstanding at the flower viewing banquet earlier. She wants to talk with you properly and clear things up. Reaching the garden pavilion, Bai Qingyue was indeed seated there, a set of exquisite teaware laid out before her. Spotting me, she immediately rose to greet me, taking my hand and guiding me to a stone bench. Her tone was uncharacteristically warm. Sister Yue, you've finally arrived. Sit down. This Biluakun tea was brought from Jiangnan by my father just days ago. It's freshly opened. Try it. I withdrew my hand, lifted the teacup, and sipped. The aroma was indeed rich and mellow, yet the taste in my mouth was bitter. Sister, if you have something to say, speak plainly. No need for beating around the bush. I set down the cup and looked at her. We both know there's no misunderstanding between us to resolve. The smile on Bai Qingyue's face froze for a moment before returning to its usual ease. She pulled a neatly folded piece of paper from her sleeve pocket and pushed it toward me. Sister, you're being too formal. I truly wish to reconcile with you. It's just, the other day, I happened to find this. Take a look. Little sister, could it be yours? The paper bore several lines of elegant calligraphy, imitating my very own brushwork. It read, 3 days hence, at the hour of the snake. Meet at the Western Tea House to discuss provisions with Jingheng. Strict confidentiality is essential. At the end was a small jade hairpin seal me signature mark. So this is Bai Qingyue's doing, forging a letter to frame me for colluding with Xiao Jingheng in treason. Where did you find this? Sister. I feigned surprise, picking up the paper to examine it closely. The handwriting did resemble mine. Yet I'd never written such a letter. Besides, the second prince is His Highness's younger brother. I've never had any dealings with him. Why would I discuss provisions with him? Never had dealings. Bai Qingyue sneered coldly, clapped her hands, and a maid stepped in from outside the pavilion. It was her personal attendant from the flower viewing banquet a few days prior, named Qing Dai. Qing Dai. Tell Miss Shen what you witnessed at the tea house in the western part of the city a few days ago. Qing Dai lowered her head, her voice trembling. Yes. Miss Shen. Around noon a few days ago. I did see you at the tea house in the western part of the city. You were seated by the window with His Highness the second prince. You spoke for quite some time. Before leaving, the second prince handed you an envelope. At these words, Bai Qingyue immediately turned to me, her eyes brimming with triumph. Sister, what more can you say? I took this letter from Qing Dai. You met privately with the second prince and discussed provisions. Do you know what crime that constitutes? If I were to present this letter to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince or petition His Majesty, the entire Shen family would face execution. Observing Qing Dai's trembling shoulders, I understood this maid must have been coerced or bribed by Bai Qingyue to dare give false testimony. I anticipated Bai Qingyue's tactics. Yesterday, I specifically sent Chen Tao to investigate Qing Dai's background. Her younger brother is gravely ill and desperately needs money for treatment. Bai Qingyue used the silver to coerce her into lying. Qing Dai. I ignored Bai Qingyue and turned directly to the maid, my tone softening slightly. How is your brother's illness? I heard you went to the herbalist yesterday. The shopkeeper said that if those few precious herbs aren't gathered soon, your brother might not make it through this month. Qing Dai snapped her head up, her eyes wide with shock. Miss Shen, how do you know? I pulled a silver pouch from my sleeve and placed it before Qing Dai. Inside are 100 taels enough to cure your brother and ensure your family has a peaceful year. Tell me the truth. Who ordered you to forge that letter? Did you truly see me at the tea house? Qing Dai stared at the pouch, then at Bai Qingyue's ashen face, and tears instantly spilled. Miss Shen, I'm so sorry. The letter was written in your handwriting at the young mistress's orders. I never saw you at the tea house. Threatened to kill my brother if I refused. You treacherous wretch. Bai Qingyue's face drained of color with fury. She lunged to strike Qing Dai, but I seized her wrist. Sister. Why such fury? I gripped her wrist so tightly she winced. You schemed against me first. Now that your plot's exposed, you blame your maid. Besides, do you think you alone hold the evidence? I took an account book from Chen Tao, flipped to a page, and placed it before Bai Qingyue. This is the ledger your father, Chancellor Bai, kept last year while overseeing military supplies for Jiangnan. It records that of the 3,000 war horses meant for the frontier, only 2,500 were delivered. The remaining 500 were sold by your father to horse traders beyond the frontier, netting 30,000 taels of silver deposited in the southern city's bank. Tell me, if I present this ledger to His Majesty, would Chancellor Bai's charge of colluding with the enemy hold water? Bai Qingyue's face drained instantly, staring fixedly at the ledger. Her voice trembled. How did you get this? The Shen family has managed military supplies for so many years, such petty accounting tricks couldn't possibly escape my notice. I retrieved the ledger and released her wrist. I came today not to sever ties, but you forced my hand. I advise you, cease plotting against me, and abandon any schemes targeting Xiao Jingheng. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to make the entire Bai family join your father in the grave. With that, I rose and strode toward the pavilion exit, Chen Tao following close behind. Bai Qingyue sat trembling on the stone bench, yet dared not stop me again. She knew the ledgers in my hands held enough to destroy the Bai family. As I exited the Chancellor's residence, a nearby servant hurried over and whispered, "Miss, I just saw men from the Eastern Palace circling the estate before leaving." I nodded. As expected. Bai Qingyue had intended to wait until I was framed before having Xiao Jingyuan catch me red-handed. Too bad she didn't get her wish. I climbed into the carriage and instructed Chen Tao. To the West City Tea House. It's time to meet the second prince. The West City Tea House was secluded and quiet. When I arrived, Xiao Jingheng was already waiting in a private room by the window, dressed in a blue robe. He held a book in his hand. Seeing me enter, he rose immediately. Miss Shen, please sit. After taking my seat, I got straight to the point. The second prince summoned me to discuss a partnership. Correct. Xiao Jingheng made no denial, pouring me a cup of tea. For the matter at Blackwind Pass, I thank you for your assistance. Miss Shen, now that Xiao Jingyuan has lost both his grain supplies and the authority to oversee military logistics, this is our chance. But I wish to know, what do you desire in return for your assistance? Miss Shen, my demands are few. I met his gaze. My tone steady. I want Xiao Jingyuan's ruin and disgrace. I want him to pay for the deeds he committed in his past life. I want the Shen family to be safe. I want every soldier who fought alongside the Shens to find a good end. As for you, I paused. I will help you ascend to the positio of Crown Prince. Once enthroned, you must ensure the Shen family's prosperity for generations to come. You must never again covet control over military supplies. Xiao Jingheng fell silent for a moment before nodding. Agreed. I promise. But Xiao Jingyuan won't let this go. After losing his grain supplies, he will surely seek revenge against us. Especially Mei Hei's long regarded me as a thorn in his side. He might strike soon. I've anticipated this. I drew a black token from my sleeve and handed it to Xiao Jingheng. This is the token of the Shen family's secret guards. Keep it. Should you face danger, crush the token. The guards will appear immediately to protect you. Also, thoroughly investigate the servants in your residence. Xiao Jingyuan has undoubtedly planted spies. Xiao Jingheng accepted the token, his eyes deepening with trust. Thank you. Miss Shen, what should we do next? First, gather evidence of Xiao Jingyuan's crimes. I took a sip of tea. He lost 50,000 share of grain and supplies. He'll definitely try to make up for it. Most likely, he'll divert military provisions from elsewhere or make your father, the Chancellor, foot the bill. Have someone keep tabs on his movements. Once you catch him red-handed misappropriating military supplies, hand it over to me. I have ways to make His Majesty aware. Xiao Jingying nodded. Understood. I'll make arrangements immediately. By the way, what are your plans regarding Bai Qingyue? Her invitation to the Chancellor's residence today likely harbors ulterior motives. She's already in my grasp. I recall that ledger, with evidence of the Chancellor Bai's military supply embezzlement in my hands. She dares not provoke me further. However, we can leverage the Bai family to check Xiao Jingyuan. Chancellor Bai is his key supporter. Should the Bai family fall, Xiao Jingyuan's influence would be severely weakened. Xiao Jingheng's eyes lit up. Miss Shen, you mean we should target the Bai family first? Precisely. I rose. It's getting late. I should be going. We'll stay in touch using this. I handed her a small copper whistle. If anything happens, blow it 3 times. My people will come for you. Remember, don't show yourself easily. Xiao Jingyuan's men might be watching nearby. Xiao Jingheng took the whistle and nodded. Understood. Miss Shen, travel safely. I stepped out of the private room. Chun Tao was already waiting outside. Once seated in the carriage, Chun Tao couldn't help asking, Miss, do you truly trust the second prince? What if he reneges after ascending the throne? I trust no one, I replied. Only the evidence in my hands and my own strength. I lifted the carriage curtain, gazing out at the streets. Even if he does renege, by then the Shen family will hold military authority and control over military supplies. We'll have nothing to fear. Oh, and go to the accounts room. Withdraw another 200 taels of silver and send it to Qing Dai. Have her remain by Bai Qingyue's side as our informant. Chun Tao replied with a yes. Miss, should we hand over Chancellor Bai's ledgers to His Majesty now? Not yet. I shook my head. Handing them over now would only secure a corruption charge against Chancellor Bai, without harming Xiao Jingyuan. We must wait until Xiao Jingyuan and the Bai family are more tightly bound together. Then we'll bring them down together. After returning to the general's mansion, I immediately dispatched Fu Bo to investigate Xiao Jingyuan's recent movements. Before long, Fu Bo returned with a report. Miss. His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has been spending considerable time with the Minister of Revenue lately. He also visited the National Treasury, seemingly inquiring about provisions. Additionally, 2 spies planted by Xiao Jingyuan were indeed discovered within the second prince's residence and have been dealt with by His Highness. I nodded. It seemed Xiao Jingyuan truly intended to embezzle grain and supplies from the treasury to plug his financial holes. Stepping to the desk, I picked up a brush and wrote the words Xiao Jingyuan, treasury, grain and supplies on the paper. Circling them, then I addressed Fu Bo. Go inform General Zhou to keep a close watch on the capital's movements. Should any news surface of Xiao Jingyuan dispatching men to the northwest, send word back immediately. Also, have the workshops accelerate the production of armor. We must prepare in advance. After Fu Bo withdrew, Chen Tao brought in a bowl of lotus seed soup. Miss, you've been busy all day. Please rest. I took the bowl and took a sip just as hurried footsteps echoed outside. A pale-faced servant dashed in. Miss, it's terrible. The second prince's residence was just attacked by unknown assailants. The second prince is unharmed, but several servants were injured. My heart tightened. Xiao Jingyuan had indeed made his move. Setting down the bowl, I rose. Chen Tao, prepare the carriage. I must go to the second prince's residence. Chen Tao looked worried. Miss, it's too dangerous to go now. What if Xiao Jingyuan's men are still nearby? The more dangerous, the more I must go. I threw on my cloak. Xiao Jingyuan's attack on Xiao Jinghen was meant to test our reaction. By going to the second prince's residence, I can both reassure Xiao Jingheng and show Xiao Jingyuan that we are not to be trifled with. Rest assured, I'm taking my secret guards. Nothing will happen. With that, I strode out the door where my guards already waited. Once seated in the carriage, I ordered the driver, quickly, to the second prince's residence. As the carriage sped away, I gazed out at the night scenery, my eyes turning icy. Xiao Jingyuan, with that spear thrust, you've driven our feud to a dead end. Since you made the first move in this 5th game, the next move is mine. When the carriage halted before the second prince's residence, chaos still reigned within. Lantern light illuminated pools of blood on the ground as several wounded servants were carried away for treatment. Xiao Jinghen stood on the steps, his expression dark and terrifying. Spotting me, he immediately stepped forward. Miss Shen, you've finally arrived. I strode into the compound, my gaze sweeping over the traces of combat in the courtyard. Footprints of varying depths marked the ground, and several daggers were embedded in the wall corners, their blades engraved with the faint pattern of the Eastern Palace. No need to ask, these were undoubtedly Xiao Jingyuan's secret guards. Were the guards captured? I crouched down, pulling out one of the daggers and tracing the 2 characters with my fingertips. Xiao Jinghen shook his head. 3 escaped. We only caught 1 alive. He bit his tongue and killed himself after just a few words of interrogation. He paused, his voice lowering. Miss Shen, Xiao Jingyuan is openly trying to kill me. Next, will he target the Shen family? Yes. And soon. I stowed the dagger away. This was evidence of Xiao Jingyuan's crime. Might must not be lost. His attack on you is meant to provoke me, to throw me off balance. What he fears most now is the Shen family's military authority. He'll surely frame my father to strip us of our command. No sooner had I finished speaking than the sound of galloping hoofs echoed outside the mansion. A palace eunuch arrived, bearing an imperial edict in bright yellow silk. His expression was grave. His Majesty commands General Shen, Miss Shen, and the second prince to enter the palace immediately. Urgent matters require discussion. So it has come. Xiao Jingheng and I exchanged glances, both seeing the gravity in each other's eyes. Xiao Jingyuan must be waiting inside the palace, baiting us into walking straight into his trap. Please wait a moment. Eunuch, we shall accompany you to the palace immediately. I supported Shen Yi as we exited the side. Hali had sent a rider to fetch him from the general's residence earlier. At a time like this, The Shin family must stand united as father and son. On the way to the palace, Shin studied the dagger in my hand. His brow furrowed. Is this from the Eastern Palace's secret guards? Would Xiao Jingyuan dare do this? He dared kill the second prince, what wouldn't he dare? I handed the dagger to Shin. Father. In the courtroom. Don't speak at first. Watch how I handle this. Xiao Jingyuan will surely use tonight's attack to frame us for colluding with the enemy. Shin took the dagger and nodded. Father trusts you. The Shin family's military power must never fall into the hands of villains. Upon arriving at Purple Palace Hall, the atmosphere was indeed tense. His Majesty sat upon the dragon throne. His expression grim. Xiao Jingyuan stood below the hall, holding a memorial. Seeing us enter, he immediately stepped forward. Your humble son pays his respects. Father. Father. I have urgent matters to report. The second prince's residence was attacked tonight. Your humble son discovered that those assassins were actually loyal soldiers secretly trained by General Shin. General Shin has also been exchanging letters with enemy forces beyond the frontier, plotting treason and collaboration. As he spoke, he handed over a letter. A eunuch took it and presented it to the emperor. His Majesty glanced at it, then slammed his fist on the dragon throne. Shin, do you know your crime? Just as Shin opened his mouth, I stepped forward and knelt. Your Majesty, please calm your anger. I have something to say. The Crown Prince accuses my father of treason. Does he have evidence? To condemn my father based solely on a letter of uncertain authenticity is far too hasty. Evidence. Xiao Jingyuan sneered coldly. The token found on the assassin's body belongs to the Shin family, and this letter bears General Shin's seal. How could it be forged? Whether the token is genuine or not can be verified immediately. I pulled a Shin family token from my sleeve pocket and held it aloft. Your Majesty, this is the true Shin family token. The front is engraved with the characters Jingua, guardian of the nation, and the back bears a tiger head pattern. May we see the token His Royal Highness the Crown Prince mentioned? Xiao Jingyuan's expression shifted slightly as he stammered. The assassin escaped, and the token was lost. Lost. I pressed. But Your Royal Highness just stated it was verified as General Shin's elite guard. How could you not secure the token? It was this humble maiden who found this one at the second prince's residence. I presented the short dagger engraved with the characters Eastern Palace. This dagger was left behind by the assassin. Its blade bears the Eastern Palace insignia. If Your Majesty doubts its authenticity, summon the Eastern Palace Guard Commander to identify it. Verify whether it belongs to the Eastern Palace's secret guards. The Emperor instructed a eunuch to take the dagger, examined it closely, then summoned the Eastern Palace Guard Commander. The moment the commander saw the dagger, his face drained of color. He knelt with a thud. Your Majesty, spare my life. This is indeed the weapon of the Eastern Palace's secret guards. But I have no idea how it ended up in the second prince's residence. Xiao Jingyuan panicked, stepping forward. Father. This is a frame-up. Shin Yue must have deliberately placed the dagger there to frame your son. Your Highness, do you have evidence for this claim? I rose to my feet, fixing him with a piercing gaze. When the second prince's residence was attacked tonight, my father and I received word and rushed there immediately. Every servant in the household can attest to this. When would I have had the chance to plant the dagger? As for you, Your Highness, how did you know the assassin was one of my father's loyal guards? And how could I have prepared treasonous letters in advance? Xiao Jingyuan was rendered speechless by my questioning, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. His Majesty looked at him, his eyes clouding with suspicion. Jingyuan, tell me honestly, what is the truth here? Father. Your Majesty, your son was merely concerned for the second prince's safety and acted in a moment of confusion. Xiao Jingyuan's voice grew fainter and fainter. All traces of his earlier arrogance vanished. Seizing the moment, I drew a stack of letters from my sleeve and presented them to His Majesty. Your Majesty, these are the genuine correspondence between my father and the border commanders. They detail defenses against enemy raiders and logistics for provisions. Not a single word of treason. The letters in the Crown Prince's possession must be forgeries. This humble subject earnestly requests Your Majesty dispatch officials to examine the handwriting and seals. Should the forger be found, all truths shall be revealed. The emperor took the letters, comparing them to the one Xiao Jingyuan had presented. His expression darkened. Attendants. Summon the Minister of Justice. Immediately verify the authenticity of these 2 letters. The Minister of Justice arrived swiftly. After meticulous examination, he knelt and reported, "Your Majesty, the letter presented by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince bears handwriting imitating General Shin's, and the seal is forged. The ink is fresh. It must have been fabricated recently." The truth laid bare. His Majesty trembled with rage, pointing at Xiao Jingyuan. You dared forge a letter to frame a loyal subject. Had it not been for Yue's vigilance, would General Shin not have been unjustly executed? Xiao Jingyuan fell to his knees with a thud, kowtowing repeatedly. "Father, spare my life." Your humble son was momentarily blinded by greed. "Father, I beg for another chance." Blinded. I spoke coldly. "Your Highness, this is not blindness, it is cruelty. To strip the Shin family of their military power. You would fabricate charges of treason. Without today's evidence, the entire Shin clan would have perished at your hands. How can such a man be worthy of the crown prince's title? How can he inherit the throne?" These words struck like a heavy hammer, hitting Xiao Jingyuan's heart and the emperor's heart alike. The emperor remained silent for a long time before finally speaking. "Xiao Jingyuan, effective immediately. You are confined to the Eastern Palace. Without my decree, you are not to step outside the palace gates. General Shin, I apologize for the injustice. I will give you a proper explanation for this matter." Shin Yi bowed in gratitude, but I pressed on. "Your Majesty, this humble daughter has one more matter to report. Now that my father has been falsely accused, though his innocence is proven, gossip will inevitably persist. This humble daughter earnestly begs Your Majesty's gracious permission to temporarily assume command of the Shin family's military affairs. Once the rumors subside, I shall return the authority to my father." His Majesty paused, glancing between me and Shin Yi. Shin Yi immediately interjected. "Your Majesty, she is intelligent. These years she has assisted me in managing military supplies and is fully capable. I earnestly request Your Majesty's approval." His Majesty pondered briefly before nodding. "Granted. Shin Yue, the military authority of the Shin family is temporarily entrusted to you. Manage it well and do not betray my trust." Your servant obeys. I shall not disappoint Your Majesty's trust. I knelt to express my gratitude. A great weight finally lifted from my heart. The military authority of the Shin family was now firmly in my grasp. For Xiao Jingyuan to touch the Shin family again would be as difficult as climbing to the heavens. Stepping out of the Purple Palace, night had deepened. Xiao Jingheng approached me and murmured, "Miss Shin, my gratitude for today. Were it not for you, both General Shen and I might have fallen into Xiao Jingyuan's trap. We are allies. Mutual support is our duty." I produced the short dagger. "Take this." Since Xiao Jingyuan's secret guards dared strike, they surely have further schemes. Have your people trace this dagger. Find out how many hidden guards he has and where they're hiding. Xiao Jingheng took the dagger and nodded. "Understood. I'll make arrangements immediately. By the way, now that Xiao Jingyuan is under house arrest, might Chancellor Bai make a move? He will, but he won't dare act rashly." I recalled Qing Dai's intelligence. Chancellor Bai has been preoccupied lately with the warhorse corruption scandal, fearing implication. He's preoccupied with his own survival. He'll only seek to distance himself from Xiao Jingyuan now, not aid him. We should seize this opportunity to uncover concrete evidence of Chancellor Bai's corruption and bring down the Bai family once and for all. As we spoke, the general's carriage arrived. I said to Xiao Jingheng, "It's late. Second Prince, return to your residence soon. Stay safe. If anything happens, remember to blow the copper whistle." Xiao Jingheng nodded, watching me climb into the carriage. Inside the carriage, Chen Tao handed me a cup of hot tea. "Miss, you were incredible today. Not only did you clear Lord Bai's name, but you also seized military authority. Xiao Jingyuan has truly fallen hard this time." "This is only the beginning." I sipped my tea. My fingers tapping the table. Xiao Jingyuan being confined to the mansion won't sit well with him. His secret guards are still out there. We must locate their hideout swiftly and eliminate them completely. Additionally, regarding General Zhou, he must be instructed to keep a close watch on the frontier. Xiao Jingyuan might become desperate and actually collude with the enemy forces. Chun Tao nodded. Rest assured, miss. I'll make arrangements first thing tomorrow. Oh. And Qing Dai sent word earlier. Bai Qingyue cried all night at the mansion. She tried to visit Xiao Jingyuan at the Eastern Palace but was stopped by Chancellor Bai. Good riddance. I sneered coldly, instructing Qing Dai to keep monitoring. Any movement must be reported immediately. Also, fetch 5,000 taels of silver from the accounts office and deliver it to General Zhou. Instruct him to deploy more men to track down Xiao Jingyuan's secret guards. As the carriage pulled into the general's residence, I stepped down to find Fu Bo standing at the entrance, holding a letter. Miss, he said. This was just delivered by a secret guard. They found it on a spy captured near the second prince's residence. It mentioned seeking someone named Black Wolf in the northwest. I took the letter and opened it. The scrawled characters read only 4 words. Northwest Black Wolf. Deliver grain. Black Wolf. My heart skipped a beat. That was the name of a bandit chief beyond the frontier. In my past life, Xiao Jingyuan had colluded with him, trading grain for war horses. Fu Bo. Dispatch someone immediately to deliver this letter to General Zhou. He must locate this Black Wolf and monitor his every move. I tucked the letter away. Xiao Jingyuan, confined to his quarters, still scheming to collude with bandit. She truly has lost his mind. Fu Bo acknowledged with a yes, Your Highness, then turned to make arrangements. I entered the study, lit the candles, and placed today's dagger and letters into a drawer, all incriminating evidence against Xiao Jingyuan. One day, I would make him pay with his life. Just then, a faint sound came from outside the window, the signal from the secret guards. Approaching the window, I found a guard kneeling. Miss, we've located the Eastern Palace Guard's hideout in a dilapidated temple south of the city. There are roughly 20 men inside. Very well. A cold gleam flashed in my eyes. At the third watch tomorrow night, take 50 skilled guards and surround the dilapidated temple. Bring back the living or their corpses. Remember, leave no trace. Erase them as if they never existed. The guard acknowledged the order and withdrew, watching the flickering candlelight dance across the room. I picked up the copper whistle from the table and blew it softly 3 times. Xiao Jingyuan should receive this news soon enough. This 6th chapter of the game demands not only defending the Shin family but also striking proactively. Let Xiao Jingyuan know the price of provoking may a price he not afford. The third watch gong had just sounded when I led 50 shadow guards, moving silently to the dilapidated temple south of the city. Moonlight was obscured by clouds, and only a few oil lamps flickered within the temple. Faint voices could be heard inside. Boss, the crown prince is under house arrest. What's our next move? A rough, hoarse voice asked. What else can we do? Wait for the prince's word. That's what. Another voice chimed in, tinged with impatience. Oh, and that silver from Chancellor Bai, did you stash it properly? Make sure no one finds it. I raised a hand to signal the shadow guards to halt, drew a dart from my sleeve pouch, aimed it at the temple door's bolt, and flicked it lightly. Clicked, bolt snapped. The shadow guards surged inside, moving as swiftly as shadows. Who? The temple's occupants, sensing danger, drew their swords only to be pinned to the ground by the guards. I stepped inside, my gaze sweeping to a wooden crate in the corner. I kicked it open with my foot. Inside, alongside weapons, lay a stack of letters. The top one bore the bold inscription, "For Jingyuan's eyes only." Signed by Bai Song, the Chancellor's name. I picked up the letter and tore it open. Its contents made me laugh coldly. Your Highness, rest assured, 50,000 share of grain and fodder have been transferred from the Bai family's private storehouse. Tomorrow, they will be delivered to Black Wolf to aid your Highness in trading with the frontier tribes for horses. The Shin family's military authority is temporarily under Shin Yue's control. Once this old man finds her faults, I shall petition His Majesty to reclaim it. Very well. Not only has Xiao Jingyuan colluded with bandits, but he has also conspired with Chancellor Bai to use grain from the Bai family's private storehouse to trade for war horses, all while plotting to seize my military authority. Take all survivors back for rigorous interrogation. I tucked the letter away, then pointed to the silver in the wooden crate. Take this too. It's all evidence of the Bai family's corruption. The secret guards acknowledged the order and escorted the surviving guards out. Just as they stepped out of the temple gate, they saw Chen Tao running toward them with a lantern, her face flushed with urgency. Miss Qing Dai sent word that Bai Qingyue sneaked into Chancellor Bai's study. She seems to be searching for something. My heart stirred. Bai Qingyue searching for something at this hour was almost certainly related to Xiao Jingyuan. She must be trying to steal incriminating evidence against the Chancellor to pledge her loyalty to Xiao Jingyuan in the Eastern Palace. Or perhaps she intends to use something to secure his freedom. Let's go to the Chancellor's residence. I swung onto my horse. Have the guards take the prisoners back to the general's dungeon first. You come with me to intercept Bai Qingyue. When we arrived at the Chancellor's residence, we caught sight of Bai Qingyue just as she climbed over the back wall, clutching a brocade box, and began running toward the Eastern Palace. I dismounted and blocked her path. Miss Bai, so late at night, where might you be headed? Bai Qingyue startled, her face turning ashen upon recognizing me. Her hand clenched the brocade box tightly. Xin Yue, how did you get here? If I hadn't come, how would I have witnessed Miss Bai stealing from her own household? I fixed my gaze on the box in her hand. Inside, surely lay the Chancellor Bai's ledger of corruption. You intended to take this to the Eastern Palace, bargaining with Xiao Jingyuan to cover your father's crimes and perhaps pleading for an audience with His Majesty. Correct. Bai Qingyue's eyes darted nervously as I exposed her scheme. Yet she stubbornly denied. Nonsense. This is a gift my father sent. It has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me. I took a step forward. She recoiled in fright, and the brocade box clattered to the floor. The ledger spilled out. I bent down to pick it up and flipped through a couple of pages. It recorded in stark detail the military funds embezzled by Chancellor Bai over the years, the bribes he accepted, even his transactions with horse traders from beyond the frontier. This could get the entire Bai family executed. And you dared carry it around. I tucked the ledger into my robe, staring at Bai Qingyue's ashen face. Bai Qingyue, do you really think Xiao Jingyuan will help you? He's barely saving his own skin. Even if he got this ledger, he'd only use it to blackmail your father, making the Bai family his scapegoats. Bai Qingyue slumped to the floor, tears falling. Impossible. Brother Jingyuan wouldn't do this to me. He promised that once he became emperor, he'd make me empress. Empress. I sneered. In my past life, when he became emperor, did he crown you? No. He crowned his first love, Bai Qingyue. Wait. You are Bai Qingyue. But you forgot after he ascended the throne last time. His first act was to execute your entire family, banish you to the cold palace, and make you drink poisoned wine to die. Just like me. These words struck like a thunderbolt. Bai Qingyue snapped her head up, her eyes wide with horror. You. How do you know all this? How I know is irrelevant. What matters is that you no longer hold the ledgers. The evidence of your father's crimes is in my possession, and Xiao Jingyuan cannot save you now. I extended my hand. Rise. Come with me to the general's residence. If you truthfully confess the collusion between Chancellor Bai and Xiao Jingyuan, I might spare your life. Bai Qingyue stared at me, then glanced toward the Eastern Palace. Finally, despairing, she lowered her head, supported by Chen Tao. She followed me back to the general's mansion. Early the next morning, I headed straight for the palace, carrying the ledger, the confessions of the secret guards, the correspondence between Xiao Jingyuan and Chancellor Bai, and the confession of Black Wolf delivered by General Zhou. General Zhou had captured Black Wolf, who revealed Xiao Jingyuan's scheme to trade grain for war horses. In the Purple Palace Hall, the emperor had barely taken his seat when Chancellor Bai knelt, weeping. Your Majesty, last night, Xin Yue abducted my daughter. She also stole my belongings. I beg your Majesty to vindicate me. I let out a cold laugh. stepped forward, and laid the evidence before His Majesty. Your Majesty. Chancellor Bai accuses me of abducting his daughter and stealing his belongings. I have proof here showing that it was Miss Bai herself who stole the ledgers, intending to give them to Xiao Jingyuan. As for these items, I pointed to the confessions and correspondence. All incriminating evidence of Xiao Jingyuan colluding with bandits and Chancellor Bai's corruption. Please examine them, Your Majesty. The Emperor picked up the evidence, his expression darkening with each page. Chancellor Bai leaned in to look, then recoiled in terror, kowtowing repeatedly. Your Majesty, these are forgeries. Qin Yue framed me. Ask your daughter whether it's forged. I had Chun Tao bring Bai Qin Yue in. Seeing the hall filled with ministers and the pale face of Chancellor Bai Qin Yue could hold back no longer. Weeping, she confessed everything. Stealing the ledger last night, and the collusion between Chancellor Bai and Xiao Jingyuan. Your Majesty, I am guilty. I should never have embezzled military supplies or aided His Royal Highness the Crown Prince in colluding with bandits. Begging for Your Majesty's mercy, Chancellor Bai collapsed completely, slumping to the floor. The Emperor slammed his fist on the dragon throne, trembling with rage. Well done, Xiao Jingyuan. Well done, Bai Song. I was truly blind to have raised such a son with a heart of a wolf and the liver of a dog, and to have employed such a corrupt and lawless chancellor. Guards, imprisoned Bai Song in the heavenly dungeon, conduct a thorough investigation of the Bai family, and deliver my decree. Strip Xiao Jingyuan of his position as crown prince, demote him to commoner status, and imprison him for life. Your Majesty, spare my life. Even as the guards dragged him away, Chancellor Bai wailed and pleaded. The ministers in the hall were too terrified to breathe. All kneeling in unison. Your Majesty, please calm your anger. I stood rooted to the spot, watching this scene unfold. My heart felt no satisfaction. Only commissaire of the vengeance from my past life had finally been exacted. At that moment, His Majesty turned his gaze upon me, his tone softening slightly. Qin Yue, it is thanks to you that this vast case has been uncovered. Whatever reward you desire, speak freely to me. This humble servant seeks no reward. I knelt, pleading only that His Majesty appoint the second prince, Xiao Jingheng, as crown prince. He is benevolent and wise, possessing the talent to govern. He will surely lead the great Yin dynasty to prosperity. Additionally, this humble servant earnestly requests His Majesty allow me to continue overseeing the Shin family's military authority. I will purge the remaining factions within the court, paving the way for the new crown prince. His Majesty glanced at Xiao Jingheng standing in the corner, then looked at me, and nodded. Granted. I shall issue the decree today, establishing Xiao Jingheng as crown prince. Qin Yue, you must diligently assist the new crown prince. Do not betray my trust. Your servant obeys. I rose in gratitude. Exchanging a glance with Xiao Jingheng, his eyes brimmed with gratitude, yet held an added measure of resolve. He knew this was only the beginning. The remaining factions within the court still needed to be purged one by one. Stepping out of the Purple Palace, Xiao Jingheng approached me and murmured, Miss Shin, for today's events, I thank you. Had it not been for you, I would never have ascended to the position of crown prince. It was your due. I drew the Bai family ledger from my sleeve pouch. Within these pages lie the names of several officials colluding with the Bai clan. Dispatch your men to investigate, spare none. Furthermore, though Xiao Jingyuan has been deposed, his former followers remain. They must be purged swiftly to prevent rebellion. Xiao Jingheng took the ledger and nodded. Understood. I shall make arrangements immediately. One more thing, what about Bai Qin Yue? She is, after all, the daughter of Chancellor Bai. Send her to a nunnery outside the city. Let her spend the rest of her days in prayer and solitude. Recalling Bai Qin Yue's fate in my previous life, my heart softened. She was merely blinded by love, or crime did not warrant death. Xiao Jingheng paused, then nodded. Understood. I'll follow your instructions. Back at the general's residence, Old Fu rushed over with a copy of the imperial edict, his face beaming. Miss, His Majesty has decreed the removal of Xiao Jingyuan from the position of Crown Prince, appointing the second prince as the new heir. He also commands you to continue overseeing the Shen family's military authority and has bestowed numerous gifts upon you. I took the edict, my fingers tracing the characters as they rested on the words. Remove Xiao Jingyuan. Half of the hatred from my past life had finally been avenged. But I knew this was not enough. The remnants in the imperial court, the threats beyond the frontier, and all those who had wronged the Shen family must be dealt with one by one. I walked to the study, opened a drawer, and placed today's evidence and the imperial decree copy inside, alongside the dagger and letters from before. Then I picked up the copper whistle on the desk and blew it 3 times. The secret guard appeared swiftly, kneeling on one knee. Miss, what are your orders? Investigate who Xiao Jingyuan's former subordinates are and what they've been up to lately. I looked at the guard, my tone calm yet carrying an unquestionable authority. Also, instruct General Zhou to strengthen border defenses to prevent bandits from the frontier from taking advantage of the situation. Inform them that the new crown prince has been installed. The Shen family will protect the Great Yin dynasty and protect them. The guard acknowledged the order and withdrew. Chen Tao brought a cup of hot tea, smiling as she said, Miss, now that Xiao Jingyuan has been deposed, Chancellor Bai arrested, and the new crown prince is one of our own, no one will ever dare bully the Shen family again. Indeed. I sipped the tea, watching the sunlight through the window. But this is only the beginning. Next, we must purge the court, fortify our borders, and make Dayan stronger and stronger, making the Shen family ever more powerful. Only then will the tragedies of my past life never repeat. At that moment, footsteps sounded outside the door. Xiao Jingheng's personal guard entered and handed over a letter. Miss Shen, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince sent this for you. He says it contains a list of court faction remnants and wishes to discuss with you how to purge them. I took the letter and opened it. Inside were a dozen names, all officials who had previously colluded with Xiao Jingyuan and Chancellor Bai. A faint smile touched my lips as I addressed the guard. Return and inform His Royal Highness the Crown Prince that a meeting will be held at the general's residence tomorrow at the hour of the snake. After the guard withdrew, I placed the list on the table alongside the Bai family's ledgers. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the paper and making those names stand out with stark clarity. This 7th chapter of the game had not only secured the Crown Prince's position for us but also purged half the court's corruption. Now, it was time for the final movito, completely sweep away the remnants and ensure the new Crown Prince's throne stood as solid as a mountain. The next day at the hour of the snake, Xiao Jingheng arrived punctually at the general's mansion. I had already spread the Bai family ledgers and the list of remnants across the study table. As he entered, I pointed directly to the circled name. Li Song, Vice Minister of Revenue. He was Xiao Jingyuan's most trusted old subordinate and the mastermind behind the treasury's corruption. The Bai family ledgers recorded that several years prior, he had helped Chancellor Bai embezzle 3 million taels of military funds. Half went into his own pockets, while the other half funded Xiao Jingyuan's secret guards. Xiao Jingheng leaned over the list, his fingertip tapping the characters for Li Song. This man has been entrenched in the Ministry of Revenue for a decade. His roots run deep. Moving against him directly could provoke a backlash from other remnants. So we cannot act forcefully. I retrieved a sheet of paper from the drawer. Confidential report delivered last night by Qing Dai. She mentioned Li Song had recently purchased a villa on the city outskirts, where he hid his embezzlement ledgers and hoarded gold and silver. We can first investigate his villa. Once we secure the evidence, we can confront him in the imperial court. Xiao Jingheng's eyes lit up. That's an excellent plan. But who will investigate the villa? Li Song's men would surely guard it heavily. I'll send the secret guards. I blew a brass whistle. The commander of the secret guards immediately entered. Kneeling on one knee. Commander, take 20 secret guards. Disguise yourselves as peddlers and go to the Willow Stream Villa on the outskirts of the city. Find Li Song's ledgers of corruption and his gold and silver. Move quickly and don't alert anyone. Yes, Commander. I withdraw. Xiao Jingheng watched my methodical arrangements, his tone tinged with admiration. Miss Shen, your consideration is truly thorough. Then what should I do in court? Simply mention during morning court. The national treasury is depleted and requires thorough investigation. This will draw Li Song out to oppose. I'll present the evidence then, catching him off guard. Additionally, have someone monitor Li Song's movements. If he senses trouble and attempts to flee or destroy evidence, intercept him immediately. Xiao Jingheng took the cup and nodded. Understood. I'll make arrangements immediately. By the way, any news from General Zhou? How's the cleanup of the remnant bandits beyond the frontier going? Just received word all remnants of the Black Wolf faction have been eradicated. The border is stable. Recalling the letter's contents, General Zhou also mentioned discovering correspondence from Xiao Jinyuan to frontier leaders within Black Wolf's stronghold. He intended to ally with them to stir unrest at the border, diverting our efforts from purging the court. Fortunately, our swift action thwarted their plans. Xiao Jingheng exhaled in relief. That's good. With the frontier threat neutralized, we can focus entirely on cleansing the court. After another half-hour of deliberation to finalize all details, Xiao Jingheng rose to depart. No sooner had he left than Chen Tao entered. Miss Qing Dai sent word that Li Song went to the Ministry of Revenue early this morning and summoned his steward to the mansion, seemingly giving him instructions. He must be trying to move evidence. I'll go immediately. Fetch 100 taels of silver from the accounts room. Have Qing Dai's people shadow Li Song's steward and track his movements. Also, send word to the leader of the secret guards. Urge them to speed up their efforts. They must secure the ledgers before Li Song's men do. Chen Tao replied, Yes, mistress, and hurried out. I walked to the window, gazing out at the street below. A sense of unease settling in my heart. Li Song was a cunning old fox, must have sensed something was amiss. If he managed to move the evidence, it would be far harder to find something to pin on him. Fortunately, half an hour later, the leader of the secret guards sent word. They had secured the ledgers and the silver and gold, and were already on their way to the general's residence. Just as I exhaled in relief, Chen Tao rushed back in, her face flushed with urgency. Miss, it's bad. Qing Dai's men say Li Song's steward, accompanied by several servants, is heading to the Lu Shi villa. They seem intent on destroying the evidence. We're too late. I gave a cold laugh and ordered the commander of the secret guards to take a detour on their way back, avoiding any confrontation. Additionally, I instructed the men monitoring Li Song to report to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince, urging him to intercept Li Song at the Ministry of Revenue and prevent his escape. After arranging everything, I sat in my study, waiting for the secret guards to return. Another hour passed before the commander finally came back with ledgers and gold and silver. He placed a wooden box on the table. Miss, this is Li Song's ledger of corruption. It records the silver he embezzled over the years and the names of the officials he colluded with. And this gold and silver all recovered from the cellar in the villa. I opened the wooden box. Inside lay a thick stack of ledgers, while gold and silver filled the space completely. I picked up the ledgers and flipped through a few pages. Everything was recorded with crystal clarity. Even the exact amounts of silver and treasures he had sent to Xiao Jinyuan were written down plainly. Very good. I secured the ledger. You may retire for now. Later, accompany me to the palace. After the commander of the secret guards withdrew, Chen Tao entered to report. Miss, His Royal Highness the Crown Prince has sent word that Li Song has been intercepted at the Ministry of Revenue. He requests you proceed to the palace immediately to expose him before His Majesty. Let's go. I picked up the wooden box and headed for the palace, accompanied by Chen Tao and the leader of the secret guards. Arriving at the Purple Throne Hall, the morning court session had just ended. Li Song knelt on the ground, tearfully pleading to His Majesty. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince accuses me of corruption. This is slander. I have served diligently in the Ministry of Revenue for 10 years, never once engaging in embezzlement. Xiao Jingheng stood nearby, his expression unreadable. Whether it's slander or not, we'll know once mission arrives. No sooner had he spoken than I stepped forward, placing the wooden box before His Majesty. Your Majesty, these are Li Song's ledgers of corruption and his hoarded gold and silver, all seized from his suburban villa. The ledger details 3 million taels of military funds he embezzled over the years. along with evidence of his collusion with Xiao Jingyuan and Chancellor Bai. Your Majesty, please examine it. The emperor opened the box, picked up the ledger, and flipped through several pages. His expression darkened instantly. Li Song, what more can you say? Li Song looked up, saw the ledger and the gold and silver, and turned ashen. He collapsed to the floor. Your Majesty, this is forgery. Qin Yue and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince framed me. Forgery. I sneered coldly, motioning for the commander of the secret guards to step forward. Commander, recount how you discovered these items at the Liu Shi Villa. The commander stepped forward and detailed the search process, including the discovery of the ledgers and gold in the cellar, along with the footprints left by Li Song's steward. Li Song tried to argue, but the emperor slammed his fist on the dragon throne. Enough. The evidence is irrefutable. How dare you still argue? Guards, throw Li Song into the imperial dungeon. Investigate his entire estate thoroughly. Every official colluding with him, not a single one shall be spared. Guards stepped forward and dragged Li Song away. Struggling, Li Song cried out, Your Majesty, spare my life. I was forced by Xiao Jingyuan. He ordered me to embezzle military supplies to fund his secret guards. The emperor's expression darkened further as he turned to me and Xiao Jingheng. It seems the remnants of his faction within the court are more numerous than I imagined. Qin Yue, you shall continue overseeing the purge of these remnants. Should you require anything, do not hesitate to inform me. Your servant obeys. I knelt to express my gratitude. Feeling a wave of relief wash over me with Li Song's downfall, the remaining faction within the Ministry of Revenue would be easily eradicated. After leaving the Purple Palace, Xiao Jingheng approached me and whispered, Li Song implicated several officials who colluded with Xiao Jingyuan before. I've already dispatched investigators. Next up is the Minister of Rights. Correct. Precisely. I retrieved the list from my sleeve pouch and pointed to the name Wang Yan. Minister of Rights. Wang Yan oversees ceremonial rites and sacrifices. In recent years, when Xiao Jingyuan sought to hasten the succession of a crown prince, it was Wang Yan who whispered this idea into His Majesty's ear. He even helped Xiao Jingyuan alter memorials to conceal incriminating evidence. Furthermore, he colluded with priests from beyond the frontier, attempting to use ritual ceremonies as a pretext to pray for Xiao Jingyuan's fortune and solidify his position. Xiao Jingheng nodded. Then how should we deal with him? The Minister of Rights doesn't have as much evidence of corruption as Li Song. We can target the sacrificial rites, recalling events from my past life. Next month marks the Grand Heavenly Sacrifice. Wang Yan will undoubtedly exploit this ceremony to pray for Xiao Jingyuan's fortune, perhaps even tamper with the sacrificial offerings to convince Your Majesty that Xiao Jingyuan is divinely ordained. We can deploy spies to monitor his every move. Should he dare tamper with the offerings, we'll seize the evidence on the spot. Xiao Jingheng's eyes lit up. Excellent idea. The heavenly sacrifice is a state ritual. Tampering with the offerings would constitute treason. His Majesty would never spare him. Additionally, we could have Qing Dai investigate whether Wang Yan has evidence of colluding with other remnants of the opposition. I added. Every piece of evidence gives us another layer of certainty. Just then, General Zhou sent word. The border garrisons were secure. They'd seized a cache of weapons Xiao Jingyuan intended for frontier chieftains, now en route to the capital as additional evidence of his treason. I took the letter and handed it to Xiao Jingheng. With these weapons, even if Xiao Jingyuan is imprisoned for life, he'll never regain his footing. Xiao Jingheng nodded after reading it. Indeed, with all this evidence now complete, his remaining supporters in the court will have no grounds left to defend Xiao Jingyuan. Back at the general's residence, I placed Li Song's ledger and the weapons inventory sent by General Zhou into a drawer alongside the previous evidence. Then I picked up the list, circled the name Wang Yan, and instructed Chun Tao. Go tell Qing Dai to investigate Wang Yan's movements immediately, especially his dealings with other officials. Report any developments to me at once. Chun Tao replied, Yes, sir, and withdrew. I walked to the window, watching the sunlight outside. My mind calm. With Li Song dealt with and Wang Yan now in our sights, we'd already eliminated two key figures among the remnants of the faction in the imperial court. Next, We only needed to take down Wang Yan. The remaining small fry would be easy to deal with. Just then, the leader of the secret guards entered to report. Miss, the confiscation of Li Song's assets is complete. Besides gold and silver, several letters detailing his collusion with other officials have been delivered to His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. Good. I nodded. Continue monitoring Wang Yan's movements. Next month's heavenly sacrifice ceremony is crucial. No mistakes can be made. The commander acknowledged the order and withdrew. I picked up the bronze whistle on the table and blew it 3 times as a signal to Xiao Jingheng that everything was proceeding according to plan. To reassure him, watching the sunset gradually fade beyond the window, I picked up the list and gently traced the names inscribed upon it. We've won the 8th chapter's game against the Ministry of Revenue. Next, it's the Ministry of Right's turn. Once Wang Yan is dealt with, the remaining factions in the court will be largely purged. The new crown prince's position will grow increasingly secure, and my vengeance from a past life will draw ever closer. 3 days before the heavenly sacrifice ceremony, Qing Dai's secret report arrived as I was verifying the ritual supplies list. The paper felt heavy in my hand. It read, "Last night, Wang Yan secretly met with a priest from the frontier and hid a packet of soul-numbing incense within the lining of the sacrificial censer. He also planned to insert the coded phrase Heaven's mandate returns to the abyss into the prayer text, prompting His Majesty to recall Xiao Jingyuan. Mind-altering incense." I scoffed coldly, slamming the paper onto the table. That old bastard knows how to exploit loopholes. He's aware the Emperor believes in Heaven's mandate and wants to use this ritual to clear Xiao Jingyuan's name. Chun Tao leaned closer, her face pale. Miss, if the Emperor truly inhales that incense, might he? I cut her off, blowing a sharp whistle. The commander of the secret guards appeared instantly. Take 5 of your most agile agents. Tonight, infiltrate the sacrificial grounds and replace the intoxicating incense in the altar's hidden compartment with ordinary sandalwood. Remember, the incense must be identical in appearance. Don't let Wang Yan detect any discrepancies. Also, investigate Wang Yan's servants. See if he's hiding correspondence with priests from beyond the frontier. Yes, ma'am. The commander saluted and turned to leave when footsteps sounded outside. Xiao Jingheng entered carrying a wooden box, his expression grave. Yu Wei, look at this. The box opened to reveal half a jade pendant engraved with a wolf pattern identical to the one General Zhou seized from the Black Wolf stronghold. My men found this at an inn near the sacrificial site. It's the foreign priest's token. Xiao Jingheng tapped the jade pendant with his fingertip. Wang Yan not only sought to drug the emperor but also had priests ambush the city's outskirts. Should the sacrifice succeed, they would fabricate a heavenly warning claiming the emperor's dethronement of Xiao Jingyuan defied divine will, forcing His Majesty to reinstate him. I picked up the jade pendant, my fingertips tracing the wolf pattern. Instantly, a plan formed in my mind. He certainly knows how to hedge his bets. Have your men keep watch on the priests outside the city. When they make their move, round them all up. I'll have the cavalry sent by General Zhou coordinate with them to prevent any escape. Those priests might even hold evidence of Wang Yan's collusion with Xiao Jingyuan. Xiao Jingheng nodded. It's already arranged. Guards from the Eastern Palace and General Zhou's men are currently watching the inn. By the way, should we have someone else draft the sacrificial prayer? Wang Yan must have tampered with it. No need. I placed the jade pendant back in its wooden box. Let him write it. It's perfect for him to include Heaven's mandate returns to the abyss in the text. Then, before the entire court, we'll make him utter those words himself before producing the evidence to expose him. That will be far more satisfying. For the next 3 days, I barely slept. By day, I went to the sacrificial site to verify every item, from the sacrificial livestock to the offerings of fruit. I had the secret guards inspect everything meticulously. Even the silk draped over the altar was turned over, every corner examined, fearing Wang Yan might have hidden other tricks. At night, I cross-checked evidence with Xiao Jingheng. Sure enough, the secret guards had seized a coded letter from Wang Yan's residence site read, "When the incense burns, the priest will raise the wolf banner as the signal, compelling His Majesty to reinstate the deposed crown prince. On the day of the heavenly sacrifice, before dawn, I arrived at the altar of heaven with Chun Tao and the secret guards. The altar towered high. 3 sticks of sandalwood incense already burned in the censer, their smoke curling upward identical to the batch exchanged with the commander, Wang Yan. Clad in the Ministry of Rites ceremonial robes, stood below the altar. Spotting me, he offered a forced smile and bowed. Miss Shin arrives early indeed. Could it be you distrust my arrangements for the heavenly sacrifice? After all, this is a state ceremony that tolerates no errors. I approached the incense burner and deliberately fanned the smoke with my fan. The incense prepared by Minister Wang is exceptionally fragrant. I wonder what fine ingredients were added. Wang Yan's eyes flickered. Then he quickly replied, merely ordinary sandalwood. Miss Shin, you worry too much. His Majesty and the Crown Prince will arrive shortly. We should hasten our preparations. I pressed no further, turning instead to stand beside Xiao Jingheng. He murmured. The priests outside the city are already surrounded. We await the signal from within. As he spoke, the imperial carriage arrived. The officials knelt in reverence as His Majesty ascended the altar. Wang Yan approached, incense offering in hand, poised to recite the prayer. Just then, I spoke up. Your Majesty, this humble servant has something to report. His Majesty halted, turning to me. Xin Yue. What is it? Your Majesty, I suspect today's sacrificial incense is tainted. I walked to the incense burner, pulled out a stick, and held it up to the sunlight. This incense appeared ordinary, but it was laced with a hallucinogenic drug. Once lit, it would induce illusions. Minister Wang, would you not agree? Wang Yan's face darkened instantly. He snapped. Xin Yue, stop this nonsense. This incense was prepared by the Ministry of Rites according to ancestral tradition. How could there be any issue? Are you trying to disrupt the heavenly sacrifice? Whether it's nonsense or not, a simple test will reveal the truth. I signaled the secret guards to step forward. Take this incense to the chief physician of the Imperial Medical Bureau for examination. Then bring out the hallucinogenic incense seized from Lord Wang's residence. A comparison will reveal the truth. The secret guards soon returned bearing 2 small boxes. The chief physician of the Imperial Medical Bureau stepped forward to examine them. Moments later, he knelt and reported, Your Majesty, the sacrificial incense was indeed laced with a mind-altering drug. Its ingredients match those found in the herbs seized from Lord Wang's residence. Inhaling it induces delusional hallucinations. Wang Yan slumped momentarily before straightening abruptly. Your Majesty, this is a frame-up. Xin Yue and His Royal Highness the Crown Prince deliberately set this old servant up. I have served your Majesty with unwavering loyalty. How could I commit such an act? Loyalty. I sneered coldly, pulling a secret letter from my sleeve. So this letter you wrote to the priest beyond the frontier was that also our frame? It reads, when the incense burns, raise the wolf banner and force His Majesty to reinstate Jing Yuan. Minister Wang, what more can you say? I handed the letter forward. After reading it, His Majesty's hand trembled with rage. Wang Yan, how dare you collude with foreign enemies to scheme against this emperor? Have you no regard for the bonds of sovereign and subject? Have you forgotten the laws of the great Yin dynasty? Your Majesty, spare my life. Wang Yan knelt with a thud, banging his head repeatedly on the floor. This old servant was forced by Xiao Jingyuan. He commanded this old servant to act thus. How could I refuse? Now you dare to frame me. Xiao Jingheng stepped forward, producing the wolf-patterned jade pendant. This was seized from the priest you colluded with, identical to the one at the Black Wolf stronghold. Not only did you aid Xiao Jingyuan in deceiving me, but you also conspired with bandits beyond the frontier. Who would believe your claim of coercion? Wang Yan gaped, speechless, his face as pale as paper. Just then, news arrived from outside the city. Your Majesty, the frontier priest and his men attempted to forge a heavenly mandate as a warning. They have been apprehended by His Royal Highness the Crown Prince's men, and a wolf banner has been seized. The Emperor's fury boiled over. He kicked Wang Yan violently. Guards, cast Wang Yan into the imperial dungeon and execute him by slow slicing. All officials in the Ministry of Rites who colluded with him shall be dismissed and investigated, not a single one spared. Guards stepped forward, dragging Wang Yan away. Struggling, he cried out, "Your Majesty." This old servant knows his error. Beg for mercy, Your Majesty. Watching his retreating figure, my heart remained unmoved. This was his just punishment. In my past life, it was he who helped Xiao Jingyuan forge the sacrificial prayer, deceiving Your Majesty into believing Xiao Jingyuan was the heaven-sent heir. That secured Xiao Jinyuan's position as crown prince and ultimately led to the annihilation of the Shen family. The ceremony proceeded. Xiao Jingheng replaced Wang Yan in reciting the prayer, his voice resonant and clear to every courtier present. After the ceremony, His Majesty summoned Xiao Jingheng and me, his tone softening slightly. "Thanks to both of you today, Wang Yan's plot was thwarted. Now that the Ministry of Rights is purged, which remnants remain in the court? Your Majesty, several officials in the Ministry of War remain. They were placed there by Xiao Jingyuan to oversee the capital's defenses." I stepped forward. "They hold partial military authority. If not purged, they may become a future threat." His Majesty nodded. "Very well. Proceed as you suggest. Shen Yue, you shall continue overseeing the purge of remnants. Should you require military authority, report to me immediately. Jingheng, you shall assist her. Ensure the court is stabilized. Your servant obeys." Your servant obeys. After leaving the Temple of Heaven, Xiao Jingheng approached me and whispered, "I've already had men keep an eye on those in the Ministry of War. They've been in contact with garrisons outside the city recently. They likely intend to mobilize troops to avenge Wang Yan. Then we must strike first." I drew a list of Ministry of War officials from my sleeve pouch. 3 names circled. These are the core figures. Act tonight, send men to raid their homes, seize evidence of their collusion with Xiao Jingyuan, and expose it publicly at tomorrow's court session. Xiao Jingheng took the list and nodded. "Understood. I'll dispatch the secret guards immediately." "Oh." And General Zhou sent word the captured wolf banner and the priest's confession have been delivered to the general's residence. "Would you like to review them now?" "Not necessary." I shook my head, glancing up at the sky. "Let's handle the Ministry of War matter first. Have the evidence sent to my residence. I'll need it for tomorrow's court session. Also, have your men monitor the Imperial Guards. Prevent them from lashing out in desperation and mobilizing troops to stir up trouble." Xiao Jingheng acknowledged with a yes and turned to make arrangements, watching his retreating figure, then glancing toward the distant general's mansion. I knew clearly once the Ministry of War was purged, the core remnants in the court would be largely eliminated. What remained were mere minnows and shrimp, incapable of stirring up any significant waves. Returning to the general's residence, the secret guards had already brought over the items seized from Wang Yan's residence. Besides the mind-altering drugs and secret correspondence, there was a chest of gold and silver, all ill-gotten gains from his years of corruption. I ordered the gold and silver catalogued and sent to the National Treasury. Then I picked up the priest's confession, which detailed not only Wang Yan's collusion with Black Wolf but also his procurement of war horses for Xiao Jingyuan from frontier chieftains. The evidence chain was complete. "Miss." A report came from the Ministry of War. "The Crown Prince's men have surrounded the homes of those 3 officials. They await your order to move." Chen Tao entered and handed me a cup of hot tea. I took it, sipped, and addressed the commander of the secret guards. "Issue the order. Move in. Remember, bring back the living or the dead. Don't let them escape. Also, search thoroughly, especially the study and cellar. Evidence of their collusion must be hidden there." "Yes, Commander." He saluted and withdrew. I walked to the window, watching the lanterns outside gradually light up, my heart serene. The grudges from my past life had been avenged one by one. The crises facing the Shen family had been resolved one by one. Next, it was time to stabilize the court. Assist Xiao Jingheng in securing his position as crown prince. Make the great Yin prosper evermore, and ensure the Shen family never face such calamity again. Footsteps sounded outside the door. Xiao Jingheng's personal guard entered to report. "Miss Shen, His Highness the Crown Prince instructs me to inform you that the 3 officials from the Ministry of War have been apprehended." Correspondence with Xiao Jingyuan and tokens from mobilizing the capital's garrison forces were seized from their residences. They will be usable at tomorrow's morning in-court session. Understood. I nodded, pulling a sheet of paper from the drawer. It listed the names of the last remaining faction members. Return and inform His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. I instructed that after clearing the Ministry of War tomorrow, these individuals must also be dealt with. To uproot the weeds, one must cut them at the root, leave no hidden dangers behind. The guard took the paper and withdrew. I picked up the copper whistle on the desk and blew it softly 3 times, a signal to the secret guards that tonight's operation must be swift and decisive. A cool breeze blew through the window. Yet I felt a deep sense of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from my shoulders. In this 9th chapter of the game, we not only outmaneuvered the Ministry of Rights but also exposed the rot within the Ministry of War. Next, once the last few remnants are dealt with, the court will be completely stabilized. I stared at the evidence on the table, my fingertips lightly tracing the characters Xiao Jingyuan. In my mind, I murmured, Xin Yue. You did it. The Shin family is safe. The next morning's court session in the Purple Forbidden Hall carried a heavier atmosphere than usual. I walked at the front, holding a stack of evidence, with Xiao Jinghun close behind. Morning light streamed through the window lattices, falling upon the ledgers and secret letters, making the writing stand out with unusual clarity. These were the final pieces of evidence against the last remnants of the faction. The Ministry of Revenue's chief clerk falsified grain ledgers to cover Xiao Jingyuan's deficits. The Ministry of Justice's assistant minister accepted bribes to destroy the confessions of Xiao Jingyuan's secret guards. Every page bore the traces of their collusion. Your Majesty, I have placed the evidence upon the imperial desk. His voice was steady. Zhang Qian, chief clerk of the Ministry of Revenue, and Lu Mo, assistant minister of the Ministry of Justice, have continued to associate with Xiao Jingyuan's former faction since the Crown Prince's deposition. They falsified military supply ledgers and destroyed incriminating evidence, attempting to overturn Xiao Jingyuan's conviction. I beseech your Majesty's divine judgment. Zhang Qian and Lu Mo fell to their knees with a thud, their faces as pale as paper, yet still attempting to protest. Your Majesty, we are innocent. Miss Shin fabricated evidence to frame this old servant. Fabricated. I sneered coldly, signaling the secret guards to bring forward 2 men in black. These 2 were former subordinates of Xiao Jingyuan, captured last night. They confessed that for the past 3 months, Zhang Qian had supplied provisions while Lu Mo greased the wheels, preparing to rescue Xiao Jingyuan. Do you still wish to argue? The black-clad men immediately cowed out in confession, detailing how Zhang and Lu relayed messages and divided the spoils. His Majesty flipped through the evidence, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the pages. He slammed his hand on the table. Guards, imprison Zhang Qian and Lu Mo in the heavenly dungeon. Execute them after the autumn harvest. Their assets shall be confiscated for the treasury, and all implicated officials dismissed. As the guards dragged the 2 away, their cries echoed through the hall. Yet my heart felt only clarity from the joke at the Jade Forest banquet to today's final reckoning. Those who harmed the Shin family and aided tyranny had finally met their just end. Morning court had barely adjourned when the commander of the secret guards rushed in. Miss, news from the Eastern Palace dungeon. Xiao Jingyuan has colluded with the jailer to attempt an escape tonight. He also hid a letter addressed to a frontier chieftain, seeking troops to rebel. Xiao Jingheng and I exchanged glances. Neither surprised. Xiao Jingyuan had never accepted his fate. Let's go to the Eastern Palace dungeon. I clenched the wolf-patterned jade pendant in my sleeve pocket. This would be my final sight of him. The dungeon was cold and damp. Xiao Jingyuan, clad in prison garb with disheveled hair, met us with a mad gleam in his eyes. Xin Yue, Xiao Jingheng, don't gloat. Once I secure the frontier troops, I'll slaughter your entire Shin clan and reclaim the throne. You won't get the chance, I replied. I flung the treason letters we'd uncovered at his feet. Your jailer has confessed, and the frontier chieftains are under General Zhou's surveillance. You can't even leave this dungeon. How could you plot rebellion? Xiao Jingyuan stared at his own handwriting on the letters, then collapsed onto the floor, his laughter shrill and bitter. I refuse to accept this. I was the crown prince. The great Yin should have been mine. If not for your constant sabotage. Qin Yue. How could I have fallen to this? Your downfall today stems from your cruelty and greed. You destroyed yourself with your own hands. I recall the blood of the Shin clan from my past life. His voice grew icy cold. The border soldiers you killed. The loyal officials you wrongfully executed. And the vengeful spirits of my Shin family from my previous existence, they all await your retribution. Xiao Jingheng stepped forward. His tone stern. The emperor has issued his decree. Xiao Jingyuan, guilty of treason and collusion with the enemy, shall receive an additional charge. He is to be executed by beheading at noon tomorrow. Xiao Jingyuan's laughter froze abruptly, his eyes now empty of all but despair. We turned and left the dungeon. Sunlight washed over us, banishing the cold gloom of the stone cells. The vengeance of my past life was finally complete. 3 days later, His Majesty hosted a banquet in the Purple Palace to reward his loyal subjects. He gazed at me, his tone earnest. Qin Yue. Your service in safeguarding the great Yin stability and purging corruption from the court is beyond measure. I hereby confer upon you the title of Protecting Nation Lady, bestow 1,000 taels of gold and 1,000 acres of fertile land, and grant your Shin family hereditary nobility. What say you? I rose and knelt, refusing with respectful yet resolute conviction. Your Majesty's kindness. This humble servant deeply appreciates, but the title Protector of the Nation is too ostentatious. I only ask to retain control over the Shin family's military supplies, ensuring the soldiers guarding the border have enough to eat and wear, and safeguarding the Shin family's peace. That is sufficient. His Majesty paused, then burst into laughter. Excellent. What a clear-sighted Qin Yue. I grant it. The Shin family shall oversee military supplies for generations. No one shall interfere. Xiao Jingheng rose and bowed to me. Yue. From this day forth, I am Crown Prince, and you oversee the Shin family's military supplies. Together, we shall protect Great Yin. This lifetime. I swear to safeguard the Shin family's peace forever. May heaven strike me down if I break this vow. I met his sincere gaze and nodded slightly. This wasn't a promise, but a mutual agreement born of trust forged through shared trials and tribulations. By the time we returned to the general's mansion, the sunset was at its peak. Chun Tao greeted me with a smile, holding a letter. Miss, General Zhou has written. He says the soldiers at the border have all received new armor and provisions, and he even wants to erect a memorial tablet for you. Qin Dai also sent word from the nunnery, saying she's doing well there and you needn't worry. I took the letter, my fingertips brushing the words all is well, then walked to the study and sat down. In the drawer, the evidence once used for vengeance, the dagger, secret letters, ledgers now lay neatly stacked, as if recounting the storms of the past. I took out the jade pendant I'd kept close since the Jade Forest banquet, gently wiping its patterns. Sunlight streamed through the window, falling upon the jade and refracting into warm rays. What are you thinking about, miss? Chun Tao brought in a cup of hot tea. I took the tea, gazing out at the courtyard of the general's residence, lush with plants and trees, servants going about their duties, a scene of perfect tranquility. I'm thinking, I murmured softly, that the storms of my past life have passed. From now on, the Shin family will suffer no more wrongs, and Dayin will only grow stronger. Chun Tao nodded with a smile. Indeed, with neither Xiao Jingyuan nor the White Chancellor to trouble you, you may live in peace now, miss. I gazed toward the distant horizon where the setting sun dyed the clouds a golden red, resembling the hope of rebirth. My hand drifted to the copper whistle at my waist, then to the military supply ledger on the table. Revenge was not the end, protection was. I would spend the rest of my life safeguarding the Shin family, the soldiers guarding the frontier, and this hard-won peace. With this final move, we had won not just vengeance, but the future. The end.